Maybe I should take these out. Divine Night. I started a minute early on purpose. So anybody coming into the room, understand I started a minute early on purpose because of our usual happenings that usually happen. But as I'm gonna let the room fill up before we start our tonight's subject. Found vegan Swiss rolls, so I'm extra geeked. Let it fill up a little bit more. Let the energy fill the room real quick. As we get ready for another Friday night lecture. All day today. Channel with my grandmother, having a channel with, and I can always tell when I'm in channel because I always crave a lot of sweet stuff. That energy boost, that sugar rush. But tonight, as you see in the comments, I took over the first half of the comments. Okay, you always trying to write that at the end. So I decided to write it in now. But for all booking, consultations, and services, email me at setcolorninjas@gmail.com or call my business line. I love the number that I have as my business line because it's 910-777-7708. I love that number. That combination of numbers. I love that combination of numbers. Of course, all consultations, bookings, getting in touch, telling me about just getting you had those questions, you wanted to get yourself in that next space for yourself. I do teach the classes, guided meditations, candle magic, shadow work, like life coaching, getting all that in order. Of course, drop and show some support via my Cash App. That's where also all my payments are done at. The easiest way to get the payments to go through. Cash App is Lucifer Sami. Of course, tune in to Tap Out with the God Hour podcast. New episodes every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as you coming in, go ahead and drop that Ashe Lucy so we get that power involved. Today we are getting into today, wherever you're at. This evening of this hour, we're getting into Adrenochrome. If you've seen the TV show Gotham, if you've seen the Batman series, if you've seen, no, they don't do this all. You've seen Monsters Inc. You've seen any of these movies where they're extracting a fear-based fluid, that is tapping into. That's the adrenaline complex of you. That's our adrenaline. That's what they feed off of on this lower level. Remember, everything's created to be fed upon on this level. So you're looking at the cow, the chicken, the duck, the pig, whatever. You look at an animal, you look at what it is on this level, it's meant to be fed upon. And I don't like the way I know. We need my black light over there in the corner, that little purple one more. But anyway, yeah, getting into that aspect of looking at everything on this level is made to be fed upon. So when you think about in the culture of, you go back in the Kemetic culture, the Kemetic sciences, Kemet, they grafted down a lion to they took down a lion all the way down to a cat, and the next phase of the cat was the hairless cat that you see on the Austin Powers movies, in the Austin Powers franchise. Everything on this level is meant to be fed upon. So, and everything is everything. So if everything on this level is meant to be fed upon, everything here has a spirit. Everything at this level has a spirit. Not everything has a soul. The only thing that can create the new light is the soul, or the reflection of the sun. It can only thing that can bring life. We are the ones that have the souls. And at this space, whether you're dead or not, you have a soul. Like whether they're dead or not, us as the gods and goddesses, the original ones, we are the ones that are awakened to understanding that we are taking a path to our soul. The dead, they're in the mindset of something else saving their soul. Your soul does not need saving. I'm gonna put this out there now. Your soul does not need saving. Your soul don't need saving. You can't save your soul from anything. Why would you need to save your soul? Anyway, back on this. Back into the aspect, looking at the cow, the chicken, they're meant to be fed upon. So when you think about the slaughterhouse, in that aspect, you look at the slaughterhouse, they go through this process to be made into something to be fed upon. They go through a process to be made to be fed upon, unless someone owns land and they're out there hunting deer. We're not in that phase anymore where we're hunting and gathering, grabbing up the deer, grabbing the rabbit, the squirrel, whatever, taking that process. But they go through either way, they go through a process from unable to be fed upon to be fed upon at this level. Through that, the fear, their adrenaline rushes, they die scared. They're not coming back. They die scared. Repeat the whole cycle all over again. You eat it, take a shit. That shit passes back through. Shit gets passed back over. Whole process, whole cycle starts all over again. So that takes the understanding to the occult perspective or the esoteric perspective. Shit that's cycles. Cycle in this aspect is to shift through different changes, but there's no evolution. A cow is raised to be eaten by something. A chicken is raised to be eaten by something. They're mammals. Tonight, a lot of the things I'm going to say tonight are going to be breaking the aspect of the unity concept in a comment such as, we're all humans, we're all one race, we're the human race, we're all in this together. Breaking that, you have to break that code. You have to break that program. You have to break that shift, break that programming within your subconscious, or you're going to be sitting in a space where you're going to be basing yourself off survival, and you're going to be stuck in the root of, you'll become the root. Remember, as us, we are the root and we are the sun. We are the root and we are the sun. We are the root and the sun. The root being, when you look at the Titan mythos, when the Titans died, they crumbled up and they sprinkled their bones and their remains across the earth. We're the Titans. They in order for this realm to exist, it has to, remember, everything as above, so below. So in order for this realm to exist, it must have remnants. It must have a reflection and remnants of the higher. So us being here in this space, sitting here, two parts of the universe having that conversation right now, this is how this entire space survives. This space survives based on us being here in attention to the details that are here. We are the devil in the details. We are the dark with it. We are the lines in between the lines. We are the devil. Remember how they say the devil is in the details? We are the devil in those details. We are those dark pieces in the details that have set this and set everything, that have put this in motion. So when you hear things like, when you hear a reflection of go home, as I said last week, go home, and then you take it in the concept of we built this, we're not going anywhere. We basically not understanding that words are spells. We set ourselves up to stay here. So everything that comes after a comment such as that, we built this, we are not going anywhere. Anything after that comment, anything after what you just said as a cause, because we got to understand cause and effect. Cause and effect is the invisible law that nobody wants to pay attention to. But every cause has an effect, and every effect has a cause. That follows right under correspondence. So by you setting the cause of what you say, who's getting that in, who's coming into that energy, who's retaining that energy. We're not going anywhere. We built this. You just set the cause. But who's getting that energy? That goes under the same lineup in your mindset if you're going into I worked every single day at my job. And I can't believe they didn't give me a severance package. I can't believe they did this to me. When you went to your job, based under the contract that you put, the agreement that was put in front of you, you got paid for every hour that you came into that building. You got paid whatever fee that was supposed to be paid for that, paid in that space. They paid you according to the flow of business and all the other algorithms that built that space. They built that on purpose. They did it to you on purpose. So for you to get upset that they're sitting there and they're like, I guess we got to shut it down. You getting stuck in that, mindset of being in a space like, oh, damn, they shut down my job because of this stupid ass fucking virus. And then you and your emotional, and we're going to get into the emotional aspects. You getting into your emotions, you're going to go on Facebook, you're going to go on your Instagram, you're going to go on your Twitter, you're going to go on your Snapchat, you're going to go on TikTok, you're going to go whatever social media platform, and you're going to spread this fucking virus has made me, I lost my job because of the fucking virus. I did this because of the fucking virus. Then you're going to chime in on every meme that has something to do with the virus. You need to understand mentalism. The first law of the universe is mentalism. The mind is all and everything is mental. So what you set into your mind, into your thoughts is what becomes. What you set into your mind and thoughts is what becomes. The strength of that manifestation based on that intention is the strength of your divine mind. What you're feeding, what you are you becoming, are you serving? Does it serve you? Does it not serve you? Is it negative or is it positive? Is it in my higher self or my lower self? What polarity am I in? All these factors come into this piece, and it sets the tone for what comes out into your life. This is a time of reset. I've said this all day today. I've said this all day for the whole entire week to countless people I consulted. Also, all the information for everybody that's coming in, all the information in the comments. That's every way that you can get in contact with me and show support and tune into my other projects. I have more projects coming around as I keep building the content to get this out there. But yeah, so everything that you do and you're saying, you're locking yourself into a certain space if you do not understand the energy. Remember, you got to understand the cipher and what contains that energy. You must understand the definition in order to unlock that energy for yourself. You have to understand where you're at in the mindset of where you're at. Let's take it back, and then we're going to come forward. In the lower level, in the sleep land, in the land of sleep, in the land of the dead, in the land of the zombies. And I'm gonna show you the synonymous. I'm gonna break down the synonymous, and then we're gonna break it down. The same way that T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, and any of these super pastors, or the local pastor at your local church, speaks based on emotion and fear, and gives you rhetoric based on an exoteric standpoint with no true personal interpretation, or they give you very little personal interpretation because it's based upon identity and ego, is, remember, everything is everything, and you meet the same shit at every level, but you got to have the tools from the level you came before. If you don't understand the reason the first level came into play, you will understand the second level how to defeat it. You won't have the cheat codes. The same way that pastor preaches in the pulpit every Sunday, money, give me money, this, and this, sells Christian rap albums and Christian rock, in that same aspect for entertainment, based on ego, based on an identity, becoming a certain identity to a certain space, is the same on the level of the lower rank in consciousness. That same angry preacher is the same angry conspiracy theorist and the same angry Afrocentric Black power leader movement. So T.D. Jakes, and we can use, fuck's that nigga name? I sent the post out. T.D. Jakes and Umar Johnson are in the same space. T.D. Jakes, Umar Johnson, and a young Pharaoh or a SETI are all in the same line. Because they're all using fear-based regurgitative narratives based upon your emotion, based on you needing something to make you feel better, to make you feel good, to make you feel included in unity. All three, when you look at, if you got to take away the emotional aspect, on all those given points, they're all using the same exact Adrenochrome based, creating that fluid and using it and feeding off of it to keep you with them in line with something. This is how you can tell at a certain point in time. For 30 plus fucking years, your grandmother goes to a church. All she can tell you at the end of the day, all your grandmother can tell you at the end of the day, I'm talking about more like the new grandmothers. All your grandmother can tell you, if she was bona fide to the church and didn't have roots in anything else, this is how you can tell the roots of certain family members. Like my grandmother, she had roots in the voodoo. All she can tell you is Jesus died on the cross for our sins. Anybody in that church, Jesus died on the cross for our sins. Let's shift that. For 30 years, been saying that. No church has been built, no community. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying in a generalized aspect, this is what you submit to in order to get what you need to get from them. It may work for them. It may work for you. It may not, but you have to understand where it's at in order you're going to another level. In order to understand where you're going, you must understand where you came from. You got to understand those roots. You got to understand the roots of how you survived and building your identity and the relationships that came from it. And there's four base relationships we're going to get into tonight. Only 50% of anybody on any level is operating at the healthiest relationship balance. We're going to get into that. But okay, now boom, let's go to Dr. Umar Johnson. In the beginning, Dr. Umar Johnson's whole entire thing was, I'm building a school for black boys and black girls, and I'm going to teach them, and teach them. As it went on, speaking of rhetoric, in the beginning, it was powerful teaching and learning. Like, you can observe certain information in order to take yourself on a certain path. But it kept you locked in because it was open. It wasn't open-ended information. I give you this information. I'm the only one giving you this information. This information, this dialogue that I'm giving you is on this same line. So I don't have to worry about you falling off this train. That same radical movement based on emotion, we got to stand up and we got to fight the power. We got to fight the oppressor, take them out of the schools, this, and this. This person, this entity, this energy said, I can feed off everybody that wants to do it but doesn't know how to do it. I can feed off everybody that doesn't know how to do it or have the information into doing it in aspect to themselves or getting to their higher. I can easily be like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say I'm going to build a school. I'm going to ride their emotion and tell them, give them my credentials and say these. I'm going to build this dialogue, this whole entire speech, this whole entire fucking spill, and I'm going to give this to them, and I'm going to have them reaching out to me to do things. But eventually, I posted I've sent the video out, shared it on my, Eventually, you get stuck in the extreme. Because if you get the things that you ask for, comes into the aspect, when you ask for something and you get what you ask for, are you prepared to put in the work to do what you need to do next? That's just like in the aspect of your identity is always going to be challenged. Your identity and your ego is always going to be challenged from something higher. Anytime you're challenged, anytime your emotions are challenged, anytime anything that you are stuck at in an aspect in your life, in a belief or a thought, remember, we shifted from belief to knowing. You're shifting from your belief of what you knew into the knowing of what it is. You're shifting from the belief of what you knew and what you were used to knowing what it is. That aspect of you've been doing it for so long, but now you're in the aspect of the moment that something's about to shift, you need that hit. You need that fix. You're fixated on not stepping out of where you are getting everything you got because you're not used to getting it in any way else. You're used to something being shown to you a certain way, but when you're showing something from that higher sense, you don't know how to take that. And that's what they feed upon. They feed upon your need for based on emotionalism. A lot of religion is based off 98% fucking emotionalism. The evolved evolution sense of spirituality, where it's the practices and the procedures. Religion is broken down into practices and procedures based on the morality aspect. That's what religion is based upon. That's what surrendering yourself to one deity in servitude does. So in that aspect, it's contradictory for somebody, and this is the biggest thing. I can't call myself a god. I cannot take on the power and the possession of being a god, a titan, a chaos entity, a great one, if I'm not possessed by the energies that were led to me. That's religifying. So somebody coming into an aspect saying they're a god and they're a goddess, and I ride for Ubatala no Shun, or a certain deity, you're a god. Or you can serve it, and you won't come to you will not come to a catalyst or to that point of balance within yourself, because you don't need to be balanced to serve something, because in the aspect, I'm serving it, I'm bringing myself to it as I am. So when you take me to the king, I don't have much to fucking bring. You're serving something. You're bringing your weakest or your lower self to the table. What you're telling this energy is, I'm not strong enough or capable or have the knowledge in order to allow this energy to possess me. I don't have the power for this energy to possess me. I'm basing myself on my survival, my will of pleasure. I'm giving you the keys to my survival, the keys to my pleasures, and the keys to my pleasures and pains, and the keys to my power. Because in reality, it's all energy. That's the only thing real, is it's all fucking energy. So you're surviving in a space. So when you're surviving somewhere, the conditions must stay the same for you to survive there. That's why survival is detrimental to your rising. Because if you have to stay in a certain space for a certain point of time, the environment must mirror or stay the same in order for you to stay in that space. You have to have an oppressor. You have to have the big bad white man. So any knowledge pertaining to, here's a thought on that. We all can acknowledge that the motherfuckers came out of caves. They were grafted in caves in a science experiment. They were grafted out of these certain animals. We can even go into the aspect of the reason that if you ever looked at a white person in the sun, motherfucker got fur. Like the sun hit them, they got fur. They look like Babe and Wilbur and every other pig. That they're grafted from. Where they're grafted from, they need to succeed. They need that to sustain their life. The behaviors that they were created from in a de-evolutionary sense, they need that to exist. So that puts you in that aspect of like, damn. So if you can sit here and say that, so think it's something as silly as, you mean to tell me 10 men barefoot took on the entire British army? Some niggas barefoot took on an entire British army. When you start putting the aspect and start actually questioning things, you see how rudimentary and how stupid this shit is. You're like, wait, that doesn't make fucking sense. It's missing something. Truth in knowledge has a beginning, middle, and end. I feel like we're taking a trip down memory lane. I remember I said a lot of this stuff during my first ever lecture. So this is actually to come back to some information. This is the key aspect of when you come into knowledge. One of the key aspects as you go forward is you gaining knowledge. Your ability to attain knowledge is the one thing. When you're able to apply it to situations to gain the interpretation of a situation that happened, that's when you're actually putting in work. You can put on 90 fucking, you can go to the jeweler tomorrow and buy 19 fucking ankhs. Every fucking pyramid statue, every fucking eye, all the fucking stones, all this, everything that you want. But if you're not applying the science to that energy, it doesn't have any power. If you're not applying any of the science to the energy, it has no power. It is not doing anything. You can say that you can acknowledge all of your issues. You can acknowledge all of your insecurities, your issues. All you're doing is setting an atonement for your identity to hide it. When you set the intention of saying, I am this, and we're going to go through the I ams. I am this. You're speaking into the universe. You're speaking into the higher part of yourself that I am insecure. I am lost. You are putting yourself, you are identifying yourself as something. I am just getting by. I am surviving. I am whatever it is. And usually when you're saying this shit, you're saying shit on the lower level. The universe only moves off frequencies. So if you're sitting here and you're in an angry, this is how energy and emotions goes into effect, and you're an emotion and you're bleeding out your emotions, and you're saying, I know I'm this, and this, or I'm angry. I know I'm this, and this. All the universe does is going to send you the challenges to overcome that. Because that's what your higher self does. That's what the universe is. It's the facet of your higher self. It's going to send things to challenge your whatever the hell you are. That's how it falls. That's how that falls into place. So when you look outside in this space, anything outside of that just feeds off of it. Everything else just feeds upon your ego based on you shadowing what it is that you are. Putting something in place that gives you no actual balance or merit or anything higher to itself. It puts you into the balance of yourself. It leaves you shut down into yourself. Going into the notes. Let's go into the notes. Now. Yeah. You shut yourself down based upon these thoughts, based upon these acts. That's how you shut yourself down. So when you get to a certain point, I'm going to paint a picture for it. This is a moment of reset, as I said earlier. This is a moment of reset. You're resetting. This is a moment of reset, reflection, to look at yourself, to look at what you are bringing into your life, what really, truly is needed. The things that are challenging you are, if you had a job or you were working and you know you can work, you know, like, now you don't have a job. Now you're not working. Now income's not coming in. Now you don't have an outward physical conduit of your currency coming in. Something's not based upon your works. Your survival is now in jeopardy. Your survival is now in jeopardy. This is going to make you look around, and it's no coincidence. Remember, there's the thing is coincidence. All of this falls in alignment with your awakening. There's a lot of motherfuckers right now. I remember when I watched the Donald Trump thing I said last week, when he was saying a lot of people are dying and never dying before. That was Spirit got to him and said that he cannot articulate on the intelligence level of us. But the ones that are in that tune on that frequency got that and understood it. While the fools laughed. The wise took it like, yeah, there's a lot of motherfuckers waking up. A lot of people, the second coming couldn't come until the first coming. We understand that the Christos energy, that Christ energy that's in with each and every one of us, the awakened ones, the ones that woke up voluntarily were like, you know what, this came to a point in time, this shit just don't look right to me. And we came into our consciousness, we came into our levels of our awakenings, and we're still growing. That was a voluntary act. We accepted, we are the pillars of that. We are the pillars of that. And we all took our spaces and we all took our places. The ones that are coming online now, they have never died before. They don't know the rush of death. They're used to living and surviving. They're used to pulsating from their root chakra. And now that their root chakra, now that the pieces of their surviving in their life are now in jeopardy, they have to look for something else or live in the same existence. That's the ones, and that's when it gets dangerous, because that fear-based narrative sells. The sacred energy exchange sells. Sex sells. The sacred energy exchange sells. Exploiting the sacred energy and exchanging it in exchange for something, that shit sells. Fear sells. Conflict sells. Toxicity sells. Negative conduits sell. That shit sells here because it's a land of feeding. All that shit seasons the meat up nice and ripe for somebody to feed upon. That's looking at I said it in the podcast earlier, like, how does a pimp have power? Said it did. How does a pimp have power over his hoes? Over his girls, his night walkers? Because they don't value themselves, or he sees value in them that they don't see. He sees a value in them. He sees that they don't see value in themselves eternally, so he can manipulate it because he understands that. If I understand, and this is how levels work, if I understand that this level is based upon fear, I become, to protect myself, I become the catalyst of love and understanding. So I fear not nothing at this level. The ultimate thing to fear at this level that got you locked into this level in the fucking first place was death. That's the thing that got you locked here. Death. They told you could die. They gave a definition to death like you don't come back anymore. And looking at the aspect of you were in fear, that's why every time I see a post about slavery was a choice, in reality, in the context interpretation, slavery was a choice. Everything has a choice. Everything has two sides. For me not to say slavery was not a choice, that would mean I could say there's always a choice. There's always two sides to every coin. Slavery is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin of not to be enslaved is to what? At that point in time was to die, was to transcend. So there's always a choice. You just have to be willing to look at the other side of the coin. If you decide to check out early, then you'll repeat in certain levels, in certain instances. But if you decide to go through what it is, that's like the aspect of, if everybody was awakened and aware and conscious on the same exact level, how would you know what consciousness is? If everybody was operating in their heart chakra and teleporting and telepathy and astral projecting, everybody was doing that on the same exact level, on the same exact core, same exact frequency. How would you know you were fucking conscious? You would perceive this normal, because to the ones to the gods and the goddesses that I speak to and I convey to when I have conversations, I'm speaking to gods and goddesses. So on our level, when we're having conversations, everything we say sounds fucking normal. As opposed to if I go to the Baptist Zion Church of Latter-day whatever and have a conversation with one of them, my head hurt. Because they're not awake. They have not awakened. They have not came to the information. They're surviving. I'm becoming. So I need that catalyst. You need that catalyst to learn from. This is how you bridge the gap and you rise in your balance. So somebody looking at the aspect of, so you look at these basic aspects that bring fear, that feed that formula for that adrenochrome to just keep pushing the thought process of getting into your emotions. At the highest level is love, the ultimate understanding. You're coming into ultimate understanding and the ultimate knowing. The knowing of yourself, standing on your square, standing in your truth, standing in your true balance. To get to that point, you must be able to understand that all your emotions are now open. Your emotions are a great thing once you have control. Your emotions are great once you have control of them. Because once you are in control of your emotions, your intuition is fully online. When you have control of your emotions or your energy in motion, you understand the conduits, you understand the cipher, so you unlock it, so you have power over the whole tree of your whole tree of life, your whole energy, and you're growing into that understanding of that power. Your intuition is fully online. You're fully online with your intuition. Right now on the mundane, you're moving off of your traumas. And they're not exactly your traumas. You're just the one that woke up, especially in your family. Like when it comes to the family thing, bro. Bobby Emmett said that shit a lot. It's only going to be a select few within a family. It might be one or two. It's very rare to be more than 2 or 3 in each family circle to create consciousness, to come into consciousness, to come online. You're the representative, but you're basing your shit off of trauma now. So you'll have a conversation such as, nah, I don't feel like going there today. Or nah, I'm not going to go there today. Or nah, I'm not going to go through that. I'm not going to disclose this. I'm not going to say this. That shit just don't feel right. That's your emotions working for you. You just know. The more imbalanced you come in with your emotions, remember, your emotions are involuntary. You do not control your emotions. You control your reaction, which is the feeling. The emotion is the cause. Your feeling or your reaction to your emotion is the effect. So every time you allow somebody to control or to have you to set the tone to cause you to get upset, to cause you to get sad, to cause you to be happy, to whatever emotion it is, you give them the rights to the effects or the mastering of, they become your master. They own your masters. That's how they become your masters. That's like the biggest thing in the music industry. Now you're hearing, and this is on that wavelength when I picked that up, a lot of artists right now own their masters. They own their entire body of work. They own their masters. The only one that I know of right now that all of them went through some type of turmoil. The last one that owned their masters on such a high degree of all of their body of work. Remember the body of work let's look at R. Kelly, for example. R. Kelly is that example. Look at the body of work that R. Kelly put out. Everything from Bump and Grind to I Believe I Can Fly to I Wish to every song that he put out, Step in the Name of Love. Think of that body of work and what that did for Black people in a whole. The emotions that cultivated in a whole with an R. Kelly song, with R. Kelly music. And then he owned the masters. That means he owns the rights to when that, how it goes out, who can use it, who can't use it. It falls along the line. Of course, they had to air out all his laundry or whatever the fuck he did in order for you to cut it off and not use it anymore. So they allowed you to cut off a piece of it. They allowed you to cut off. They took away his mastery of his information, his masters of his body of work and the ability to use it. So now you can't use it without having the bad taste in your mouth. Because remember, at this level, you got to play the game to stay here. Now at this level, they're like, well, I don't want to own that because now they can get you up. Now they reverse engineered, use reverse psychology, and got you to not listen to it anyway. So even if he does get out and stuff gets better, you're not listening to his music, so his masters becomes worthless. He got to a point, his masters, his body of work is now worthless. You're coming to a point to where you have to take ownership for your emotions. You have to take accountability for your emotions, how you survive, everything that was your identity. You must take accountability for everything that you allowed to be burdened on your heart. The burdens on your heart make your heart heavier than a feather. So you're at an imbalance. The burdens on your heart make your heart heavier than the feather. So you can't transition until your heart is in light as a feather. I can move through realms because my heart is light as a feather. I can move through the realms. I can transition. I can do what I need to do as I need to do. I can obtain. I can go into any space because I don't have to go to the space as the only other way to do it, to get to those spaces, to get to that energy, to actually get to your own fucking power. That's where the deities come into play. The fundamentals, the principles. That's where those come into play. And nothing's new under the sun, remember. Nothing's new. So the same mystery school that was created and then you went through to a certain age, the 33rd degree, till you're about 30 in your 30s, 33, that's the whole Jesus of Nazareth story and every other story that has a savior into it. That's basically you. When you look at the aspect, you look at it like, then you got to a certain point and they told you like, yo, all those principles that we told you about, Anubis, Thoth, all that shit, all that's you. You're set. They told you about all the attributes and separates and all the principles through the mythos, through the stories, set it upon you and let you know that was you. All that came as you. Everything that you went through made you, your identity. All that shit was not a coincidence. It was based on the knowledge and based on the algorithms, based on you getting to just being you, who you identify as now. Now, the hardest thing for your ego to accept, your ego can't accept it. That's how your ego fights back and forth. Your ego cannot accept the things that happened in your life as being you. Your ego can't accept that. Your ego won't accept that. Your ego will defend in every single way against that. Because if it accepts it, it's no longer real. It no longer can feed. It no longer can create the conduits and the totems outside of you to keep you in the space of where you're at. It no longer can give you worship to something outside of you to master you. So getting into the aspect, I want to get into the aspect about deities and different rights, Congo rights, and all these different rights. They all go under the same fundamental platform of you giving yourself to something else to do it for you. It's the battery in your battery pack. You put a batteries in its back. The offerings are batteries in its back to keep doing what it's doing. So I'll take it like this. We'll go back to Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson has been building a school for now 10 years. In him building a school, for the last 10 years, let's just look at it, and they're not the same. They're not the same in reference. I'm letting you understand, like, it don't take that long to build a school in retrospect. LeBron James did charter schools. Lil Jon built 2 schools in Ghana. All the way up, Akon's building an entire fucking city. All these countless things have gone around, motherfuckers building schools and building platforms, homeschooling. They built a whole homeschool platform. Motherfuckers talk about doing homeschool in that aspect. But he needs you emotionally, he needs you in an emotional imbalance of thinking. The ones that he's speaking to are the ones he's using the same fear-based narrative in rhetoric. He's using the same fear-based narrative as the ones that are talking about conspiracy this, conspiracy that, conspiracy this, conspiracy that. There's nothing negative. There's nothing wrong with the conspiracy or the critical thinking. What are you doing once you have that thought is the key. What are you doing with the information once you have acquired it? How are you applying it into yourself in order to build the interpretation, to build the methodology in order to teach? Everything that I teach, everything that I put out on the platforms when I put out information is based on one of 2 parts. My major in psychology and then studying the occult. Psychology is the intellectual building or the intellectual foundation to the mind itself, the outer mind, the subconscious and everything to that right. All the answers to psychology, a man that knows one book knows none. All the answers to psychology are within the occult. The mind, the ego, and the door to the subconscious and everything within it that powers the subconscious. In tandem, bringing them together, the masculine and the feminine energy, bringing them together to bring balance into what I speak. You must take yourself to a point of no ego. And we're going to go through the building blocks really, really quick. And we're going to drop down into those. At my beginning, in my root chakra, your root chakra is based off survival. Survival of the fittest. Survival goes into the aspect of procreation of I gotta have a seed to carry on my name. So I must survive long enough. So you put the thought process in your mind. I must survive enough to have a seed to carry on my name. But it becomes an empty human thought. And remember, human thought is the sin to the soul. Human thought or lack of knowledge. Human thought is basically belief. That age of Pisces. Human thought is the age of belief. So I believe that I have to survive long enough to have a seed. That's why they can give you Baby Boy. And we're going to break down. I got the channel on Baby Boy. I remember I did Paid in Full. The aspects of a lot of these movies, once you have an in-depth understanding of the space, you can encode it to make your interpretation to make it work. I don't care about decoding movies. You can decode movies all the time. The movies have been put together to be decoded. Most movies are based on conflict anyway. are based on, oh, they know something. Most movies and shows now are based upon their ability to manipulate what is already there. When you see movies now, they're basically under the thought process of they're manipulating what is already there. All they can do is manipulate what is already there. The movie Noah, all they could do is manipulate a story that was already there. Put in a couple more pieces of cementos and create a movie Noah. TV show Lucifer, they only can play with what's already there. Star Wars only can play with what's already there. They can't go any further. They only can go to what's already there. So they're showing. So when you see a movie when they're talking about laser guns, and they always have to, that's why you look at a lot of the movies when they're making their superheroes, they have to create a paramount on a picture, on a film, to tell your subconscious that they're heroes, they're smart. So they have to create the superhero the manifest. Even though when you're looking at these stories, when you start understanding the background stories, you look at Superman can't possibly be white. These niggas can't absorb the sun. So then if you close your eyes and I give you the description of Superman, the motherfucker's black. If you closed your eyes and took out the money aspect from Batman, you would think Batman was black. If you just take the aspects, you can take parts out. You can start understanding the parts that were put in for you to respond in a certain way. That's the key of you getting through. So looking at your root chakra based on survival, if my thought process is on empty and belief, I have to live long enough to have a seed. I got to live long enough to have a seed. In order for me to live long enough, I got to work. So I got to create a conduit of work. I got to create a conduit based on mundane talents and mundane skill in order for me to survive. This is how people get stuck in the level of survival. I must do something that's based on the level of me surviving. I need something to get me by. Something that does not challenge me to a point to where I need to walk away from. And then you look at the reflection, 9 times out of 10, a protest ain't gonna do shit. That's why they allow you to protest. Then you can understand what laws were put in, what laws at this level in this world were created to keep you sustained here. They're based on mundane shit. A motherfucker can sit here. That's what I said about last week about racism and like what I've said before about racism and someone being racist. The root is race. They're putting their race first to exist. So at a point in time, they know that they can't exist. Their race cannot exist past this point. So for me to be in the aspect of I'm the original, so I know I'm black automatically, I know that part, I'm going higher. Nigga, I'm not black or white. I check I'm a god on that aspect in the creator aspect. I'm a titan, I'm a chaos being, I'm a creator. So I can be anything that I want. So when I read that, when I take in, so when you start applying this to your mindset as you're taking in information, when you start to read, you're not reading it as an initiate, you're not reading it as a student, you're not reading it as I can be that one day. You're reading it as that's me. So you're validating yourself. And that goes into the aspects of these different different types of relationships. I got it in my notey notes. Got a lot of notey notes. Let's go. Got it? Nope. Okay, cool. Cool. Got my notes lined up. All right, cool. But you put yourself in the aspect that you're surviving based on something mundane. My basis on survival, just to exist, so then you create conduits outside of yourself to sustain the tradition based on that level of survival. Based on morality, based on something that was you were indoctrinated into between your birth or your death to your being reassimilated or your identity. And whenever you look at movies that talk about being assimilated, their death or like Total Recall, we can give you your memories for you, the old one or the new one. I've died like 9 times. You can tell by these dots in my eye. Also, those dots that were in that bitch eye that was in the movie, the original Total Recall, those dots were in symbolism of how many times she can see, how long she could stay to the sun before the sun burnt her away. That's what those 3 dots were saying. That's what those 3 dots were going to. Those 3 dots, the reason that she showed 3 dots in her eye, motherfuckers want to be deep. The 3 dots in her eye were based on survival, pleasure, power. Survival, pleasure, power. I only can see survival, pleasure, power. These 2 eyes only can see survival, pleasure, power. These 2 eyes can only see repetition, images, and trauma. These 2 eyes only acknowledge repetition, symbols, and trauma. That's all they can see. That's why when your 3rd eye opens, when your pineal gland awakens, you start seeing everything, but you're trying to see everything you saw with these 2 eyes. And you're trying to understand you saw with these 2 eyes, understanding when you have to understand it with this eye for what it is. Not what you saw, but for what it was. Take it for what it was and move forward. Let me get these notes out real quick. I took the case off my phone. It's kind of like, damn, I like it like this. All right. We all have 1 in 4 attachment styles in a relationship that are developed between birth or death to the age of 5 years. 5 years, you're going into those 5 bottom rungs of the tree of life. That affects our relationships into adulthood or into our next levels. The first one, which is secure attachment. This is the only positive. This is the highest of style because this is a master style in emotion. We're going to get into that some more. Secure attachment, only 50% of any population has that. So as you get into your higher self and understanding the esoteric means for is information to a select few. Information like this is only to a select few. If you understand, if you can take in the light and understand the context. Don't seek validation within your relationships. Secure within yourself, secure within your partner. The second one is anxious, preoccupied attachment. This is the first dysfunctional. Needs constant reassurance in relationships, fearing your partner might abandon you. Clingy, sense of self depends on partner, easily jealous in relationships, negative view of self. 3, dismissive avoidance attachment. Not here for relationships, feels smothered in relationships, very stoic, sees emotions as a weakness, shuts down, unavailable, cold, detached, prone to addictions outside of relationships, delays responses, very logical, blocks emotions, workaholics, critical of partners, uses relationships to feed ego. The 4th one, fearful, avoidant attachment. This is a combination of 2 and 3. Purposely deceptive, loves relationships to hates relationships, push and pull in relationships, wants a relationship, then doesn't. I want you, I don't want you. Dependent on others while in love, and that's why they fear love. Now, we're not going to start with the hunky-dory secure relationship. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. Because you got to start with the negative to rise to the positive. When I first put together the notes and I was looking at the anxious, preoccupied detachment or the dysfunctional, constant reassurance of a relationship, fearing your partner might abandon you, clingy, sense of self depends on partner, easily jealous in relationships, negative view of self. The immediate thing that I thought about in reflection was most of the Tamahoos or the white people. In that aspect of the second one, the anxious, preoccupied attachment, that is a lack of feminine energy. That's when the feminine energy is in disarray or disimbalance. So when your feminine energy is not in balance or it has not risen or you do not tap into your feminine energy in that aspect, that's why you'll have chicks that say, I act like a nigga. Remember, when you say something, you got to live by what the fuck you say. So saying that, oh, I'm a nigga, I act like a nigga most times. In no way, shape, or form to a entity or a guy that has mastered themselves is that going to be acceptable on no accordance. That's not a cute aspect. That's lower level mundane shit. I need my bitch to act like a nigga. That means secretly, yo nigga might like niggas. Just gonna be real with it. Your nigga might like niggas because I don't want my queen, my goddess, acting like no fucking nigga. Like in the aspect of lower mundane, I don't want her to act like a nigga. If we both, I need her to be able to balance and nurture the knowledge I give her, and I need to be able to balance the feminine aspect of knowledge that she gives me into my feminine aspect of myself in order to build back and forth to build that bond. Anything outside of that is the disarray. So if you look at the aspect of a reflection right now, you look at an argument, we'll use Trump as the example, because Trump's in power right now to these lower folks. He's the scapegoat for the ones, the higher in power at this level. For every time that this white boy did not get his way, he shut down the government or threatened to shut down the government. In reflection, he put himself into the thought process of, you cannot survive without me, so I'll just shut down what I shut down based on the power that I have. This goes into the aspect when you look into a person that you look at a relationship. A lot of relationships right now, they're based on an imbalance. They're usually based on money. They're based on the mundane. They're based on the mundane level of currency. So if we're basing ourselves on surviving based off of currency, that would mean the one with the most currency has more power, or they have the power to control something. So if you're in your lower self in your survival and you feel that if you have money, you have control over something, but if you don't have money, you don't do shit, you feel locked out, you feel out of place, you feel lost in whatever it may be, you're activating in your masculine aspect of energy based on the knowledge that you have. Your feminine aspect is based upon creativity. So if on this level, I do not have any external source of knowledge or currency coming in, at this moment of reset in my roots, in my survival, in order for me to get to the next level, what is being challenged upon me is I got to sit my ass down and put this map back together. This map is not going together the way that you got to it. This next level that you're going to, what you're used to, what you are used to, what you used to get, what you used to have, what you used to be, what you used to be on, is not going to work at this level. Especially when you're coming into a level of higher consciousness. The way that you survived back then ain't gonna work here. Now, there are loopholes. There are loopholes in everything. The loopholes to getting you to what you want and need, instead of tapping into your own prosperity and abundance to get what you want and need, that's where the deities come into play. You, just like when you create, just like when you came into your indoctrination, you were given Jesus, you were given Allah, you were given whatever deity to as your representative, your chief deity in your whatever you were at. You do the same thing. You come to this level. I'm gonna use the same loophole I used over there. Me praying to Jesus every day work. What deities over here? What story? Since I understand this is based on intellectual. Since I have the understanding of Jesus is nothing but Horus or Haru, or Jesus is nothing but Shango or Obatala, and the devil will be Papa Legba, and you look at the aspect, you just transfer what you knew from this space over to this space. So you didn't change, you didn't evolve anything. You just changed figureheads. You just took yourself from this being your figurehead to now this is your figurehead. As you go deeper in, okay, cool. I have more figureheads to put across my mantle. I have more figureheads to put across my mantle that I can serve. But at every point, the same shit that happened at that level, your emotions got in disarray, something challenged your head. The only difference is you have to take more responsibility the further you go in. You got to take more responsibility the further you go in. Now, the accountability part, that's a whole entire different game. Because once I shifted from the paradigm of Catholicism into spirituality, the first place that I went to was, of course, Kemet. I went to Kemetic science. But since I already had figured in my mind, before I shifted from the Jesus narrative, the Allah narratives, since I took responsibility for my actions and accountability for what I was doing, that self-reflection process of my emotions, getting my emotions intact, when I came into the Kemetic science part of my consciousness on my path that I chose, when I saw it, I realized that I didn't have an oppressor. I look back because I went back to a point like when I didn't have an oppressor. I didn't have a predeceived oppressor. So that's when that angry consciousness phase, man, fuck Jesus, because Jesus is the face of your oppressor. That white pale face, that's the face of your oppressor. That's all that's the face of your oppressor. So you saying fuck Jesus, you're giving something outside of you more power and not understanding that it's you anyway. I refuse to give anything outside of me more power over me, knowing that I'm the power source to myself. Everything in reflection of me is either a moment to learn, is always there. Basically, it's always a moment for me to learn and to challenge where I stand, my balances. And in reflection, that's why you have to be careful when you set that cause into motion. You got to make sure that you're aware. You got to make sure that you're ready for the effects. When you set the cause into motion, you must be sure that you are ready for the effects. Or you will be, just as I said before, you become preoccupied with attachment to something. If you're not putting yourself into an aspect of how you're surviving, you're going to find, if you're not used to surviving or your way of survival is now in jeopardy, i.e., let's look at when you are told when you're 18, you're grown, you can go out of the house. The way that you were building up to your survival before you shipped out of the house, you have one of two choices. Either you learn how to survive on your own. How do I survive on my own? On a lower level, I need a job, I need a place, I need this, and this. You either learn how to take accountability and responsibility for your wants and needs, and always wanting and needing something, and who's going to provide those wants and needs, either by your own hand, and you sacrifice, because you're going to have to sacrifice. So something has to die in order for something to live. This is the problem with a lot of things on this lower level, especially when people get into an aspect of surviving. They feel they can have everything that they want. They just got to put it in different spaces. You can't dwell in two houses. If your house is not in order, everything in reflection of your house, yourself, is not going to be in order. It's going to be a direct reflection of something either you need to learn or it's going to challenge you to learn. Put distance in between your responsibilities. Put distance and deflections in front of your responsibilities. Things that you know you need to do and things that you said you needed to do. And I can guarantee you, and this is from the psychology point of view, I can guarantee you everything that comes into your life is going to challenge you based on deflecting and distancing. Because if you're not taking accountability for what you're deflecting and distancing yourself from, the reflection that's going to come to you is going to do the same exact thing. And it's going to take away the mundane level of things that you use to survive at that level. That's why you got $40 bitches. That's why they're sugar daddies. That's why niggas are so willing to give bitches $40 to get their hair done. Knowing damn well, I know damn well how much it takes on a weekly basis for me to get my hair done, to keep me in the godly vision that I'm in. And barbershop shut down, so I'm just gonna let my beard grow out some more. But anyway, it takes $30 every week to every 2 weeks to keep keep my sides lined up and everything lined up. It takes every 3 weeks almost every 3 weeks, like it puts it to almost a month. It takes about $120 for the process for my locks to be retwisted. The conditioning, the deconditioning, the whole process to keep my locks conditioned. The reason I can go so long is in between those processes, I have enough knowledge that I can apply to keeping my hair done. Keep it washed, keep it conditioned. That's when my locks don't ever feel like fucking Brillo pad. My locks are very, very soft. So I don't get scared when they touch. So I get scared when they touch my neck because they're so soft when they touch my neck. Because I understand, in order for my survival to be intact, for this to survive in this space, I know what I have to sacrifice to do that. So I cannot deflect. I can't put deflections. So I know when I'm building the 2 websites, when I'm putting together podcasts, when I'm putting together all my information, all the content, I know there's things that there's going to be a day where I can't wash my hair. like when I used to. Like, oh, I can wash my hair today. So I put myself into the mindset, I can sacrifice at this point, sacrifice at this point, sacrifice at this point. In my mind, eventually speaking out, murmuring, I sold this in echoes. I was like, I need more time. As you apply your works, as you apply the work into where you need to apply the work, everything else falls into place. It's the path, not the destination. It's the path, not it's the path, not it's not the conduit of where the currency will come in. It's not the conduit that your current of energy that will create. It's the energy that you're using to create it. It's not the conduit or the totem that creates that symbol for that energy. It's the energy you're using to create it. That's why people can get displaced in a moment like now in an aspect of, I don't have a job or I don't have any money, therefore everything else is on hold. You have to understand that. I give the example. When I started the podcast, when I started the G.O.D podcast back in I almost said 1999. I don't know why I said that. That's when I started trapping. Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But when I started the podcast earlier on in November of last year, I started the podcast right after I did the YouTube. When I started, my first lecture was September 13th, I don't know, I'm in the 19s. In September of 2019, September 13th, Friday the 13th, in September, until I got to the point of, Ashay, welcome to the building. Then I started the podcast. When I started my podcast, I had to sacrifice. The ways that I had to sacrifice in building my podcast were, I didn't know nothing about music. I only had read briefly about scores. I didn't understand nothing about music. The music on the first season of my podcast, up until the last couple of episodes, I think the last 3 episodes, I was on my phone. I went to Google Play. I went in my phone, went to Google Play, typed in beats. I typed in free beats, and I saw every app that had free beats. And I downloaded every free royalty-free beat that I could find that matched what I wanted to do. Or I submitted to it in order to learn it. And then I proceeded to record. The knowledge, the information and the energy I was putting out didn't change at all. The information and knowledge that I was putting out didn't change at all. That just got stronger. As my energy got stronger towards the later episodes in season 1, I was like, let me download this beat making app. Let me download this beat software. How hard could it be? I've listened to music. I used to, when I was younger, that's why I'm going back to the 1990s. When I was little, around 8, 9, 10, when I was young, when I used to listen to music, the ad-libs, the acapellas, all the extras that's in a song, I used to think that one artist did all that with their mouth. Like they did that, like they sung that way. It wasn't until later that I understood, like, oh, they do the editing and stuff for that. But then I remember I was listening to an interview, this way back then, that validated it for me. I didn't know about validation at this point in time. But I remember somebody, I think it was like George Clinton in Parliament, and they were talking about how they used to take a piece of tape. They would literally take the tape. They would record a song on the reel, and then they would roll and they would cut or they would mark and they would retape the pieces together to cut and sample and put together the track so it would overlap and play a certain way. I was like, damn, they created loops. They were like, if I take this piece out of here and put it here, and I take this piece, put it over here, I can bridge and make a whole song. So it took them, they made like a rough cut. That's why the songs were 15 fucking minutes. Because they literally were cutting, they were taking scissors and cutting, taking out pieces and putting in pieces and taking out a piece to make loops make the hooks, the bridges to the song. Just to create the body of work. Up to the point now, me having that information that was stored in my data bank, and when I'm sitting there making the beat, when I'm making the music now, I go back to that memory. That's all you're going back. When you're thinking, all you're doing is listening to what you already previously recorded. So are you listening to your traumas or are you listening to your intuition? So you go back and you're like, damn, that's how you remember it. That's what the information does. When you take that moment of thought after you read a book or you read something, you're not remembering, you're recalling. That's why it called you in the first place. That's why Jay said, I record, most of y'all record, I recall, y'all record. Because he can go back and remember the time that it happened. I can go back and remember a time in a space when I was already doing it. I'm just bringing it from back there, that information from back there, and I'm applying it into the mechanics of what's now. Based on what I read, based on surviving when I was bored on a summer day, surviving, I took that information from my level of survival, understood how it brought me pleasure. This is how it's synonymous. Understood how it brought me pleasure. Use that power, put it into the passion of my heart, and then I spoke and I created it. That's the level. That's that God in it. That's when you're going into your God in it, your God gift. That's your God's gift. I spoke it into existence and created it as I saw it play out. So now when you listen to the new episode, 7 episodes in on the new podcast, all of the music, even before I used to record one continuously, be like 160-minute piece. I would speak for 60 minutes. There'd be a little introductory music for about 3-4 minutes, and then the music go away. It might repeat a couple times, and it go away. Then all you hear is my voice. Now, when I record, I'm like, I broke it down into 30-minute segments. At first, it was just 2 30-minute segments. Now it's 3. I just broke the cherry the last week on doing 4 segments for the God Hour podcast. And now I have 30 minutes. I've looped the music, the background music to each one. 30 minutes. Plug it in, plug it in, plug it in, plug it in. Now, instead of me shuffling around, downloading an app, I got too much information on my phone, I got to erase something off to put something on. Now I understand the dynamics of just transferring the file, everything that I once learned. How do I transfer the file? How do I do this? How do I do this? So you come online. That's your confidence in yourself. So it's almost immediate as you get better. But you have to be able to go back to where you started in order to get to the level now. Everything that you need is within you. Everything is within you, and you created conduits at points in time when you were in that space as your physical marker in the present. Empty house, full mind, empty house. Look at the aspects of motherfuckers calling themselves bored. Man, I can't survive in a space. Motherfuckers right now are forced to sit in a fucking house and look at their reality. Look that they haven't done shit. Motherfuckers are right now stuck in their reality. They haven't done anything. It is impossible to be bored. It is impossible for my hyperactive fucking astral realm projecting at any given time. I'll fall asleep, wake back up, like, where the fuck was I at? I fall asleep all the fucking time. I spend more time on a day off. If I'm off, I don't have any work to do. I ain't got to do no podcast. I ain't got to put nothing together. Everything's in place where I needed to be at. All I do is touch, cut, paste, and put it together. I'll fall asleep and leave for a couple hours. For what might be a couple hours me laying on the couch, a couple hours me laying in the bed, laying on the floor. I done been gone for that hour. I was gone for about 15, 20 minutes in the astral plane. Gone. Studying, researching shit, channeling, having conversations. Because there's no burden on my heart because the main thought process coming to your body when you come into astral projection is you can't have a weight on your heart. Because that weight on your heart becomes your tether in the astral world. The weight on your heart, when you visualize and are building, when you are actually visualizing your astral plane, your world, your space that you go to, the burdens on your heart become what you're battling in your astral as you're building your astral world. Because your subconscious is now online. Your ego is now off. Your subconscious is now online. The fade or the echoes or the ghost or the demons that you see when you're in the astral plane or in your dreams, those are aspects of your identity and your ego. So I no longer survive. So since I no longer am since I understand my root chakra and my survival, that's my foundation. That's the level, that's the major where all my shit can be birthed from. The root of all of my evils, the root of all of my demons, the root of all of my things. I understand that's the root of where all my shit starts. But since I understand my demons, my damians, my intelligence, my magics, I can be rooted and stand firm in I control my demons. I control my emotions at that level. So then the next level that we get to, so based on the level of survival, when we work in to go out and out to go back in, based on your level of survival, the way that this is affecting you is showing you what you need to do next. It's putting you face to face with what you need to do next. Everything that you created as a conduit or an unconscious deflective device to use to stay out of where you were at, I'm never going back there. Now you have to submit to the sacrifice of what you need for. Remember, you created it. Now you must maintain it. Whatever you create, you must maintain. So if you haven't got your emotions in line, your emotions will be the first thing. Your emotions are the first thing that your ego is going to use to have you locked away and to create to further reinforce the deflection. You can ride around all day with a half a tank of gas or an almost full tank of gas. And you can have the thought process, yo, I'm going to go ride out. I'm going to go ghost ride the whip and ride out somewhere. And you ain't got your car back on empty. So now your mind's not on the things that are needed to maintain it. So then you ain't even paying attention that your gas is on E. All you were thinking about was the destination. You weren't thinking about the path or everything to maintain the path. So you'll go out, you'll leave, you'll do what you need to do. Even if you grab an Uber, grab a Lyft, whatever it may be, however you're getting to where you need to get to, you got to understand there's going to be methods to maintain where you're going. So now your ego's reinforced already on, man, the coronavirus, that damn virus, this thing here, I ain't got no job, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. Your mind's already in that space. So everything your ego is going to point out is going to lead right back to that root cause of how you were surviving. How you going to survive? How you going to do this? How you going to grab your bag? How you going to get your bottle? How you going to get your hair done? How you going to keep yourself fresh? Chicks don't like niggas that ain't fresh. How you going to keep your nails done? How you going to keep your lashes done? Niggas don't like girls that look like little boys. How I'm going to do this? How I'm going to do that? Oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. Those are those moments of learning. Either I submit to serving something to do it for me or I learn to do it myself. Either way, it creates sacrifice on one side or the other. Understanding what I have to sacrifice. What am I sacrificing? Oh, I got to get my head. I got to keep my head done. So I got to sacrifice going to this person and paying them this one fee. And now I got to, since I'm sacrificing this, now I can look at it as a learning experience to bring myself into balance. I'm not spending this $140, $240, $500. I'm not spending $250 on the fucking hair. And then I'm not spending $1,000 on fucking hair. And then $200 to $500 on an install, which that still doesn't make sense to me sometimes. Neither here nor there. Doesn't matter to me. It only matters to you. On an install, now I got that money in my hand. Now I got to learn how to do this myself. How do I learn it? The information is fucking free. You can go on YouTube and YouTube installs and everything is on there. You can go on Google and Google it. But are you willing to do it? Most people get so stuck in an aspect of looking at stuff outside of them and doing these mundane acts to gain a validation or attention, or it's basically just that deflection and unhealthiness in an unhealthy manner, that once they get a hit that challenges that, they don't want to shift away from it. You're addicted to it. You get addicted to that hit. Some people don't even use, so the most, like that unhealthiness in a relationship, there's no arguments. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be these certain aspects in a relationship. Those are natural occurring causes and effects in a relationship. What's unnatural is based on your level of how you evolve in controlling yourself, in gaining control of your emotions, in gaining control in your emotions in order to know how to navigate and know how to speak. On this low level shit, that's why you got niggas with side chicks. That's why you got niggas with side niggas. That's how you got chicks out here with side chicks and side niggas. That's how you got the relationship where it goes from niggas ain't shit, I'ma fuck with bitches. You become what you hate. Because 90 times out of fucking 10, the type of female that another female wants to attract has all the attributes of a nigga. So it kind of counterbalances out. Because when you're acting in another space of something else, all you can act out are the outer attributes of it. Because you can't be what it is. You only can act out the ego identity you only can actively seek out the ego identifying isotopes or characteristics. We'll say that's the characteristics. The ego derivative. Yes. Then you become the So you hate something so much that you become it in its behavior. All you act out is its behaviors. That's why. Dun, dun, dun. That's why you can look at the appropriation process. Motherfuckers appropriate. They appropriate and take all our shit. Why are you mad at something that they've been doing forever anyway? You started that. We started that. We gave them the information to, at a later point in time, come back and get it. We dropped off the kids, and then we came back and picked them back up. Those nuggets of knowledge and information, we're coming to come pick it back up. But now we're so convoluted in between dark and light and going into the light and going into the dark and scared of the dark. To say that the dark is bad, the dark is evil, the dark, don't go into the dark, stay in the light, you're denying yourself. It goes under the same aspect of saying fuck Jesus at a certain point in time in your consciousness. It goes into the aspect of saying fuck Jesus and fuck Allah. Because you're denying parts of yourself. Man, this is a book that's plagiarized. It's only plagiarized because they twisted the information and gave it to you on an esoteric standpoint. It's a playbook for them to live with you. It's a playbook for them to live with you. To bring a unifying harmony to make you, oh, we all going for the same thing. That's why they can say we're all in this together. During times like this is when we all need to come together as a human race. Fuck you niggas, I ain't fucking human. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Y'all niggas worried about shit I ain't been worried about ever. If even the shit that you're worried about, I ain't even worried about it I'm not even thinking about it on the level that you're thinking about. It's just like someone put a post out the other day on my Facebook feed. Someone put a post out the other day and it was funny. They put out a post and the post said Canada has dropped their $8,000 stimulus package plan. $2,000 a month for 4 months to their people. I read that and I was like, and I kept scrolling. What does that have to do with me? Whether it's whether it's $2,000 or $1,000, if you don't have the knowledge of what to do to make that, you don't even have $1,000 until you have two. So if you ain't learned the basic fundamental in understanding money in itself, that you don't have 100, you don't have 100, you don't have 1,000 until you got 2,000. What's the point of me even thinking about? Oh, they giving them $2,000. You don't have. It goes under the same premise. You don't have 2,000 until you have $4,000. That goes into the same process. If I can't buy the shit 5 times, I don't need it. Man, you can do whatever you want. You're doing what you can based on what you have been given. That's how you become a servant to something. When you become a servant to your emotions, you do what you can. You do what you can based on your emotions and knowing your emotions. You put yourself into positions based upon your emotions. You allow somebody else to have external control of your emotions based on your survival. I know you need to survive. I know you need simple pleasures. I know you need some type of power. I know you need some type of catalyst of power. Let me get your power. I'll show you how to survive. Let me get your power and I'll show you how to have pleasure. Let me get your power and I can show you how to manipulate the power that I do give you back in the projection. You become what you hate. You become the behaviors of what you hate. You become the behaviors of what you hate. Shutting yourself down. You become the behaviors of what the fuck you hate. You'll set yourself every single fucking time. I hate white people. Why? Because they stink. Okay. Why do they stink? Nigga, I don't know. Your lack of understanding is what grows your fear and hatred. Hatred and fear are a lack of understanding or a lack of wanting to understand something. Because as long as it's there and you don't understand it, you can use it as a catalyst to justify your behavior. If you sit here and say that you have an oppressor, that oppressor must have control over you. So what you are saying to yourself is by my own admission, I'm allowing this person to have my energy, to control my emotions, to master me. Because I don't want to. Creates an imbalance. That's like the aspect of in the Avengers when Hulk says, "You want to know my secret to keep my anger intact? I'm always angry." To master something, you must become it. You must become it in the way that it literally transmutates or transforms you into the highest level of it. That's why they gave you that's why they gave the lower fundamental when they created the devil archetype. They gave it all of the highest of humanity. The God or the Lord of this realm, when they created their God archetype, is all the things of the lowest mundane, of the lowest devolved sense of intellectual. It's a jealous God. It's it's a vengeful God. Da 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 da. Go down the list of how they built the archetype of a God, what their God is, and then look at those same archetypes for when they created their devil. The devil is the exact opposite of everything that God is. So even in that aspect, God is the devil's free will, desire, choice. It's all based on lower mundane aspects. So when you look at the deities that have been created and you think about the things that you want to go get for, but you don't want to put in the true works to embrace your full energy, that's why you accept a certain deity as to go do your work for you. But then you're serving that deity. So you're not taking any responsibility for your emotions. You're not taking any responsibility for your balance and balancing yourself out. So now you have an unhealthy balance dependent upon something else. You just shifting the gears. So you're surviving based on your belief or your knowledge of what that is. Then eventually you will be challenged. So then we're going to another aspect of relationships, or the dismissive avoidance attachment, not here for relationships, feel smothered in relationships, is very stoic, sees emotions as weakness, shuts down, unavailable, cold, detached, prone to addictions outside of the relationship, delay responses, logical, blocks emotions, workaholics, critical partners, uses relationships to feed ego. We're all the human race. It's only one race, it's the human race. That goes under the line of using ego to feed, using a relationship to feed. At this level, overall, the human race, that's just a clear note of I'm avoiding true attachment to my own behavior. I'm stepping away from the attachment to my own behaviors. I don't want to I don't want to take responsibility for my behavior because we're all just human. We're all just trying to get along. We're all just trying to get to the same space. We're all just humans. So my emotions and everything about me, this is how God made me. Your God made you in the archetype of them accepting their God, it's made them in the reflection of their God. That's why you look at their reflection when they say you were made in God's image. So in reflect, to blow that shit out the window, you were made in God's image. So you were made jealous, you were made vengeful, you were made angry, you were made all of these aspects of what a God is. You made all these different aspects in the image of your God that you serve. So as long as you don't take responsibility for all of these atonements of your lower half, your lower self, you stay in this space. You stay feeding this space. You stay feeding these entities. So it doesn't matter how you shift. I don't care if you went from fucking Jesus all the way to Ifa. If you're still carrying the same notes, if you're still carrying the same anatones in your mindset of how you're approaching things, you're just going to transfer that to that. And that's what happens. So people are coming into consciousness looking for another fear. They're looking for another fix. They're looking for that next fix. So you went from the Lord is my savior to I'm saving myself. I still don't want to save myself. Who got the information to tell me why I can't save myself? Then your mind automatically goes towards the motherfucker talk about somebody's oppressing you, somebody stole something from you, somebody did this to you, somebody did this to you. So you have every right to be angry, feel your emotion, get angry, and get even. So you're never able to take in any new information. Because all the information that comes into you based on you hating, becoming what you hate, all the information now must still be at that point. You still got to have something to hate. You're still not taking responsibility. That's why whenever you get into a relationship or a balance and reflection that's actually healthy and actually can challenge you, you can feel smothered. Because you're not used to that abundance of that energy. That's why you get into a relationship. Some people get into a relationship and they have a smothering reflection based on being attentive. Their attentiveness is not really being attentive. Their attentiveness is the fear that if I'm not all here in a certain way, shape, and form, the best of what I know that I am at this point I identify as, then they'll leave. You only can give as deep as you are able to receive. You're only to receive as deep as you're able to give. You cannot receive the true depth of something until first you have received the truth in yourself. Or else all you're going to be doing is battling across your points, trying to make your arguments make sense. So your insecurities can be challenged. At this level, in the basic devolve, the Tamahu, the white people, they are the void of everything that you said was not worthy of being a god. That's why they're here. You created that. You created a vehicle that could exist as the lower aspects of yourself. At first, you created this vehicle so when you took your sleep to understand everything, you knew what you had to battle because it wasn't a part of you. That's why they'll always say Black people are spiritual by default, but they're also the ones that can absorb the most because they absorb everything. We absorb everything and transmutate it into what benefits us based on survival, pleasure, and our power to gain our power. After you go past that point, now you have to get to the heart. Now you got to realize everything that made you, everything that gave you your survival and made you be the best, be the winner, survivor every year running, everything that brought you pleasure and how it brought you pleasure, everything that brought you power over your pleasure and your survival, you're going to have to understand it to let it go to get to your heart, to your true mind. Because all of the portals are to your heart. Every story that talks about the heart chakra or talk about those portals, it's all about the heart. If you're not true of heart, you can't go to certain spaces. You can't ask certain questions. You still can ask the question, but it's gonna come at a vex or a jaded sense when you receive it. When you ask for something, you ain't put that work in on your heart chakra, and you still dwelling on survival, you still dwelling on pleasure, you still dwelling on having power over something. Because submission is power. Having power over something. When it comes to your heart chakra, when that energy hits your heart chakra, it's going to challenge and shake your heart chakra. And it's either going to fill, it's going to expose everything, because the highest level, the highest frequency is love. That love frequency is going to move through and move shit. It's going to move shit. So then you'll be sitting like, fuck that shit, fucking. So now it's challenging those burdens that you have on your heart. That's why when you get into a relationship with somebody that's at, when they say you get with a mentally mature man or a mentally mature woman, or in this case, we'll say a mentally mature a goddess or a god, they're going to challenge the way that you used to gain your attention. They're going to challenge the way that you used to survive. You're almost going to feel bad at an aspect because you're not used to the type of energy that is being brought, or you're not used to that catalyst of energy coming into your life. You're almost going to feel bad when you're not able to do what you're usually able to do. You're going to feel upset because the physical properties that you brought to the table that you used on the lower forms don't work on this person. Don't work on that energy. That physical intertwine of arguing back and forth, it doesn't work with the mentally. It doesn't work with somebody of a higher sense. It's going to challenge you to understand, why doesn't it work on them? Why, when I have a conversation with them, everything they say is right? After a while, you start saying, damn, they're right. It's not about it's not about the right or wrong. It's because your body, your higher self, now that you're at your calm level, because you can't have an argument with me to save your fucking life. I've always been that way. In my lower sense, when I was having arguments, I would always immediately, based on the aspect of survival, I will always convert to that side to help them agree to appease their ego. Now, you can't have an argument with me to save my life. That's why, and now that I'm at a higher level, I got so many Ifa priests hopping into my inboxes, sending me friend requests, but that's based upon the aspect of, if we get him over here with that strength and that energy, and we get him over here, nigga, we win. We have another archetype to help us feed and keep this level of sustainment. But it's damn, I will not listen to, I'll have a conversation. But to submit to the attributes of that space, I can't do it. Because I did the research, looked at the information. I'm like, there are now, like, at the point in time when I first did the information, when I first watched the Bobby Hemmett lecture, and I did the research myself, I always research. And I was looking, I was like, yo, there are like 60 different sects right now. Over 60 different sects, similar to, like, you look at Christianity, of Ifa priests, and none of them are African. None of them are from the base of where you would get the true information. So there are white people right now that are running entire Patreons of other followers based on our knowledge. This is how I think about it. If that's the case, and they can, some Nigerian or yes, use Nigerian, some greedy Nigerian nigga was like, nigga, I need me some more money. Let me get these white people. They'll pay me $500 to $1,000 to $5,000 to get certified under this, and I can give them the information. At a point when that information, at a point when that knowledge actually had power in it, that shit would shift the whole fucking globe. It's still shifting in the aspect, in that anger, that energy ain't meant for them, so they can't use it. They can't contain the energy, so it's overflowing. But that energy is going back to the rightful owners. But in order for it to go to the rightful owners, you have to become and not serve it. So if you serving the deities are now, these deities have been pulled, they've been pulled down. Remember, like when you invoke energy, you pull that shit down. So if it bypass, if it's not, so we feel a wave of the energy, it automatic because it's our energy. So we get a little rush of it, we get the energy, but it's being pulled down and invoked into something else that does not have the catalyst or the power to contain it. That's a fucking rush. It's been pulled down to a lower realm. The only way it can be pulled down to that lower realm is if the vibration was already lowered down to it anyway. That's looking at the whole aspect of these energies, these entities now, they no longer are strong enough. They're not you. Like, they have new names. This is you now. That energy is you. So when you look at the aspect of you coming into yourself and you looking at somebody in the way they approach things or they say things to you is not the way that you're used to. Nah, they're not saying it the way I used to. They're not arguing with me. They're not doing this. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. But they have understanding. They have this. It's your traditionalism and your transparency to yourself. They're showing you the transparency to yourself. Everything that comes around you is in reflect, or they're a reflect or a remnant of yourself. Most people at a lower level, when they're coming into their self, feeding that fear aspect, needing that hit of that fear, some of that good old adrenochrome, needing that feed, they need that fear, they need that excitement, they need that thrill. They go to the spaces where they're used to going. Spaces that submit to them to allow them to stay in a certain area. That's like if I went to my mother's house. If I go to my mom's house, I would have to submit my energy into that space of being what it is my mother has a memory of in order for me to be like, all right, cool. My mom said this. My mom said we can do this. My mom said I can do this. My mom said we ain't going to do this. My mom said we ain't going to do this. All right, cool, whatever. That doesn't matter to me. But in the aspect of that reality, now, in order for me to get my hit of my freedom, I have a place of survival. I have a place. Now I created it. This is how synonymous work. I have a place of survival. I can go lay my head. I have a place I can go to sleep. I have a place I can go eat when I want to. I have a place where I can do my laundry. I can do whatever I want at that space as long as I convey to that space. If I don't want to convey to that space, now I got to create another space for my pleasures. Now I got to create another space for my pleasures. Whether I get a room, I get a plate, I go to a friend house, I go to wherever I go, now I have a place to sustain my pleasures. But this is how the ego works. Now I have a place to sustain my pleasures, and I have a place to sustain my survival. Now that I have a place to sustain my survival, I have that stiff word I've defined this place as the place that's going to survive, that's going to sustain my pleasures. Now I need another place to sustain power so I can keep my pleasures and my survival intact. So now you created a conduit, which will be your job. Or you find you got the $40 hoes, you got the $40 chicks, you got the $40 niggas, you find something that you can submit to your basis of your survival and your basis of your pleasure, or the mundane physical aspects of your pleasure. So your pleasure place, your pleasure code, you smoke, you watch twerk videos, and you real good. You're hypersexualized on the lower level. The physical aspects of what sex is, that's what you are. So you're very good sexually. That's why you see a meme like niggas that ain't shit fuck the best because they have nothing else to work on. Because they perfected what it is they need to survive on the physical aspect. That's why you have females now that they have, outside of the physical aspects, whether it be looks, sexual experience, that energy, they embody the basis. They embody the basic pleasures that can help aid their survival. But if anything challenges them to step out of all that they are, or they believe that they are, and they built this identity around what they are, that's where the argument comes from. So take that all the way out. You take the aspect, why the fuck would you wait on the white man to tell you the truth about something you already know? That would take them out of their natural behavior that sustains their level of where they're at. That's why at this level, you will never, ever see true power unfold of the black man and the black woman coming together and taking over the planet. Why the fuck would you want to take over a prison planet anyway? Earth in the tree of life in the Kabbalah is the prison planet. They showed you that in Chronicles of Riddick, that this is the prison planet. So why the hell would you want to take over the prison? That goes into the aspect when you watch motherfuckers, they actually having conversations like, yo, man, I got this car, I got this chain, I got this, I got that, I got this, I got that, I got this. You now are the most flashy nigga in the prison. That's all most motherfuckers are at this point in time. Motherfuckers sitting on the corner. You got Power Rangers arguing with the Kemites back and forth talking about Jesus and religion. It's just two motherfuckers standing outside their cell block arguing with one another. They'll never come to blows. Almost never come to blows, because that would diffuse the situation. Because if they come to blows, they come together and they have like a physical confrontation, that shifts the level, that evolves it to something else. When you are at a certain point, you're going to come to a point, so you're going to come to that head, and that's going to challenge you to go up. Somebody's going to fall, somebody's going to rise. That's the main aspect. And when you coming into the battle with yourself, you got to battle. When you're battling your older self, when you're battling your lower self, you're going to have to come to blows and kill your older self. You're going to have to commit that homicide. That's what a lot of people get scared of. But what about all the good things I got from it? It'll be better on the next level because you have a deeper understanding when you get there. At no point in time do I want to stay on some low level shit, because I have to look for the fix. I got to look for the net. This is where you get the aspects of motherfuckers stepping out. 1 second, got it. You know I can do that break right. It's time for that. right, we back. So take the aspect. All right, cool, we back. But take the aspect of that. You have to challenge that part of yourself to that battle. That's that constant battle between good and evil. Your de-evolved self and your now rising higher self. Your higher self is always going to be evil to your ego, to the good of your ego. When you look at the word ego, good is go. To the good of your ego. To the good of my ego. To the good of my ego. But I got this and I got this and I can get, I don't give a fuck about think about the mundane shit that you, think about right now where you at and look at what you getting. Think about what you're getting right now. And think about the stress and the worry that's on your mind right now as you're going through what you go through right now, just to get the little bit of what you're getting. At a point in time, you're going to sit there and look and be like, man, this can't be life. But going back to the aspect, I want to go scale back down, build back up to this guy. I actually forgot the point. But so you created, feeling kind of studious right now. Just wearing them just to wear them. But you take yourself into that aspect of yourself, going into your higher self, and you like, wait. So you created that space. So now all the burdens that are on your heart, all the aspects that are on your heart now are all lower level energies. Everything that's on your heart right now, everything that became a part of your heart, that's on your heart, that keeps your heart at bay, all your insecurities, all your pains, all your emotions, all your jealousies, everything that's keeping you locked up where you at right now, and you're only used to one type of way for stuff to hit you, or you're only used to one stream of information or one stream that you can handle. Imagine opening up all of that. There's a scene in what's the name of that show? There's a scene in a show called The 7 Deadly Sins. If you've never heard about it, it's on Netflix, all the seasons. And where King, the king of the fairies, was actually very synonymous how I said it. King, the king of the fairies, he was talking about, when he said it, he was talking about the soul. He was like, where's your treasure? And he was like, where's your treasure? And it was like, I sold, like, Leonidas said he sold his, and no, Mellon said he sold his, and somebody said they did this, it got taken away, The aspect of that is understanding your soul. And then he went over the body of water. He was like, imagine taking your hands and then putting your hand in the water. That's all the power you have, is how much water you hold in your hands. But if you have your treasure and you use your treasure is the external part of you that's connected to you that can absorb all of your power at once. That's your soul. But in order to get to that point of understanding that your soul embodies all your power, you have to release the burdens off of your heart. So everything you needed to do to get to that point, that's the shit that you got to let go of. Or else when you want to get into the higher levels of yourself based on that relationships that you build, to not feed upon, but you don't need the relationship. The relationships that you seek or that come to you are not based on validating you or they're not based on validation of you. They're not based on giving you anything that you do not have inside of yourself. At this level, everything's based upon something giving you something. Everything on this level is based upon you giving you something, you feeding it, and it feeding you. That's what this level is. That's why when you looked at the relationship between, when they took away the black man and the black woman, they split up that whole relationship. They gave two people They took away the masculine and feminine energy, and they said, if you submit to me as you submit to me, your feminine energy can rise, but it cannot go, it only can feed. Because only two conduits actually feed and actually can transverse with each other. Everything else is based upon ego trauma, and ego and trauma. So you take the aspect of only when the God, the original man, the black man, and the black woman come together on that level, on the same level, this is the most important part, can everything from the alchemical body. It's a great book to read. Alchemical Body. It's actually a PDF now. It breaks down all of the chemical processes in the feminine body and the divine feminine energy, from the couplings to all of the energies and how they work, and every part of your body, every organ in your body creates an elixir. Bobby Hemming broke that down a lot. Every organ in your body creates an elixir based on what it is. So your lungs create the elixir of air, that element of air. Your stomach creates the elixir of earth, or that grounding. So for the woman, the vesica, the yoni, the sacred flower, the sacred garden, the secret garden, it creates life. So in order for it to create life, it must have all the counterparts in the sustains and chemical processes and elixirs that create life and sustain life. But based upon if it's healthy or not, I don't care how healthy. I don't care how healthy you keep your box. I don't care how healthy you keep your shit. I don't care what you do, how you do it, when you do it, and how the methods that you do. If the messaging center that sends and receives all of the information from them 8,000 nerves just on your clitoris, or the second pineal gland, that's why it has 8,000 nerves. It's 8,000 translates into pineal gland, that higher gland, 144,000. That's that ratio, how that connects. I don't care what you do, but if you are not in a balanced state emotionally, that box, your sacred treasure, your treasure is going to only create in reflection anything is going to create in reflection. That's how you get crazy niggas, stalkers. My box be turning niggas crazy. You should not be happy if your pussy is turning niggas crazy. If every nigga you fuck with go crazy after having your box, something might be wrong with you and receptive to them. Because your body, once your body takes in the information, remember, it's always an imprint. So once your body takes in the information, it's taking the strongest anatones of that energy first. Everything else is recessive. The recessives lays within it. The strongest parts swim their way up. So all of the strong aspects of that person that you shared your bed with, that's what's going to come. That's what's going to rise up. And I'm not talking about strong as in, remember, we're not talking about good and bad. I'm talking about the strongest parts of that person. So if that nigga wasn't shit, this nigga was riding around. This motherfucker had a concept of only money was important. Looking good was important. Smelling good was important. That basic mundane shit that once you in a higher sense of maturity, all that shit matriculates naturally by itself. You ain't doing it based on arrogance or intellectual. If I smelled a certain way, shorty gonna like me. If my hair is a certain way, my shorty gonna like me. Once you in a permanent balance, You ain't doing it to, remember, you're not doing this shit for validation of somebody else. Nothing I do is for validation of somebody else. Therefore, from the highest extent for me, when I present anything, it's from the highest and the truest form of myself. So I don't have room for jealousy. I don't have room for emotional backlash. I don't have room for it because I'm in balance. I'm in tune with all of my emotions. I'm truly in tune with all of my emotions. So the receptor of my emotions when I say things and when I move and how I act, what's going to resonate with them is what their strongest emotion is, their strongest emotion that is in balance. Their highest aspect of them that's in balance. That's in an imbalance. So when I approach, so you take that aspect, let's make an example. If I go outside right now, look at the way that I look. I walked outside, I had on gray Converses, I little fatigue shorts. It felt immaculate outside. My favorite color is black, so I wore black today. Had my crystals, had my stones. Every time I go into a store, and I'm not there, but I'm like up and I'm like walking around, looking around, I look at how people look at me. And when they look at me before, they still can have that face to discuss. White people have that face to discuss. But it's almost like they're squinting at my aura. My energy is that my shit's bright. So it's like every time in order to lay their eyes directly upon me, they got to squint because my shit's that fucking bright. That's not based on the arrogance. I don't need them to validate that. I don't need anybody to walk up to me and say, your aura is amazing, because I know my aura is great. So if someone comes into that space and I'm having a conversation, the ways that they would pertain and they would gain someone else's mind or gain someone else's thoughts or gain access to them, it doesn't work. The way that they would act out in reaction to get my attention, it doesn't work. Because I'm in a balance. Because I'm no longer surviving off somebody else. I'm not surviving off of attention. I don't get pleasure off of attention. I don't get power off of attention. So that burden isn't on my heart. So I can move. Now that I don't have that burden on my heart, I need someone's attention to move. I need a deity to be able to get to the next level. I don't have to say I am the deity. I don't have to say Lucifer, oh hail mighty Lucifer. I don't have to say that. I became Lucifer because I understand the aspects of what that was. I got called Lucifer when I was 13 years old by my pops. That shit hit me so fucking hard because I was trying my best since I was in between learning who my real origins were and then trying to fit into the origins of his life. That shit hit me so hard. All I could do was fucking cry, and I shut the fuck down. I tried my best to be the best Christian that I could be, but it didn't work because I was trying to fit into a space that could not contain my energy. I couldn't say that at the time. I couldn't even explain it at the time, but it made sense because I remember when I got older and I got into relationships, I was always trying to be. Oh, I like to go to church too, and I remember going to churches, and I remember standing in the church. And everybody had their hands out like this. Like, let's tell Jesus to bring that energy. You might have that. I remember holding my hands up. I remember opening my eyes like this, looking around like, these motherfuckers are in a fucking daze. I remember one time I had my hands up at the beginning of a service, my hands are up, everybody hands up. I open my eyes, I put my hands down, I walked out. I had to go pee. I walked out. I went and took a piss. Motherfuckers are standing out there in the fucking, and it was weird. It was funny because it made me think about just the house of the Lord. The people that are outside in charge of doing things outside of the place for the service, they didn't have their hands raised. So I'm like, wait, if everybody's supposed to have their hand raised at this time, why don't they have their hands raised? Huh, whatever. Went to the bathroom. I came back. I put my hands back in there and closed my eyes and played along for the acceptance. Not understanding that my energy was not, it cannot contain my energy. I was not willing to submit to be contained in that space for sustaining. Because that attention was not, I didn't need that attention. I slowly started to believe, I started to understand I didn't need that attention. So when you go all the way out and you look at this, what's going on now, they need your attention. They know exactly what you're going to do. You're not going to take it serious. Oh, this cookout weather. Oh, we just going to play spades. Oh, we're going to go do this. Oh, we're going to post a bunch of memes. But in the back of your mind, similar to looking like, man, I don't do the 4th of July. I just do it. I don't do that. That's under the same aspect. I don't do the holidays for what it is. I do it for my family. That's under that same aspect. So what you're saying is you're not going to go too deep past something because it still sustains and gives you something in your life. You're not done with it yet. Like a child playing with a toy car. The only time that you get upset with it is because you're not done playing with it. White folks wearing fucking weaves. White folks with dreads. White folks wearing fucking certain hairstyles and doing their certain shit. You're upset with them because you're not done playing with it. You get upset with that aspect, and it just feeds the entity that put that together. That entity being your ego as the catalyst. Now I got see, that's why I don't like white people. They always taking our shit. You ain't done playing with it then. That's like being the kid in school. That's like being the kid in daycare. And you had the ball. You sat the ball down. You went to go pee or you went to go to sleep. And you expected your ball to be back where the fuck it was when you left it. You have when that's that aspect in the relationship, when you're building your relationships, it needs to be where I want it to be, how I want it to be, how I need it to be, or I don't want it. That's why you're stuck in a relationship that you feel smothered, but at the same time, you want to be distanced away from it, but you still need it in some shape or form in order to feed your survival, to feed your pleasure, to feed your power, to feed it's another burden on your heart. This is what I mean by letting that shit go. So when you come into the aspect of if somebody gives you something that you're not used to getting or receiving in an openness that you're not used to receiving it, the only thing that's battling you are the echoes of your past. The only thing that can hinder you from actually accepting it and moving forward with it are the echoes of your old self. Are the echoes of the shift. The same aspect of you saying, I need white people to admit this to me. Why do you need them to admit something to you? Why do you need them to admit something to you in the way that You want them to admit something to you, but once they admit it in the way that they admit it, that you seem permissible to you, what are you going to do with it? Sustain your ego. Because all you're doing is telling yourself, if they give it to me the way that I want it, I still maintain control. My ego still wins. If they give it to me in the way that I want it, if they give it to me in the way that I want it, I maintain my control. I maintain my space. I don't have to change. I don't have to evolve because they brought it to me in the way that I wanted it. That's the spoiled kid syndrome. So now all you can visualize is lower level shit. I'm not going to give him none. The fuck they got to do with anything? Fine, I just won't talk to you. That's the same equivalent of fine. You don't want to do what I say? Nigga, go home. This aspect of when I look at this, and everybody knows I have not said the word at all because I'm not trying to put that energy into our shit, especially with the altar I just with. Taking that aspect, this being that reset, them shutting it down is like quarantine in the definition is to isolate. I don't care about the processes and visualizations that you put forth or the disciplines that you train yourself upon. Until you are put into a position where you have to use what you know. That is the challenge on where you've applied it. That's the challenge of applying it. Right now, the motherfuckers that ain't never woke up before that are waking up to the reality got one or two choices. They've literally been given every aspect of the reason to step away. This shit over. They've been given every aspect of this shit over. From the churches shutting down to all their little holy places shutting down. Every place that they could go get reasoning on this level has shut down. Everything that can sustain their survival or give them reasoning to sustain their survival has shut down. But they need that fix. So the highest that they're going to go based on fundamentals is the conspiracy theorist or the critical thinker. Because they're going to feed them that same rhetoric from a different angle. All right, cool. I don't want to fuck with God, right? I don't want to fuck with Jesus right now. That's why in every level, that same sustaining from that pulpit now goes to the motherfucker that's sitting with a whole bunch of the comedic gods behind them in their fucking video. Talking about Hotep family. We got to unify as one. That's the same thing the black church said. We need to unify under Jesus. We need to unify the black planet. Same difference. We just shifted sides. You're still surviving. People get stuck in that mindset of survival. Not letting go of old shit. Old ways to get shit. They're stuck on the old ways that they used to get things. So they don't want nothing else outside of that to challenge that cipher so they can understand their energy. They don't want to take that accountability in their responsibilities as their self. So now you got survival underlined in alignment and based on their relationship in their root. They got their pleasures put under alignment in their relationship. They got their power source that they're going to get their stuff from. They're happy. That's why when the heart and the mind are not in balance, they are not in sync. They're fragmented. The heart is the feminine principle. The heart is only one half of the principle. It's the portal to speaking and seeing the androgynous or the balance of the masculine and the feminine in tandem. This mind, once in balance with creativity, reasoning, and logic, and knowledge and wisdom, the masculine and feminine aspects, once they are in balance, it's no longer needed. Once this is in balance, the androgynous thought process of being a god, once this is in balance, it now can operate from the higher. This is no longer needed. That's why during the mummification process, they went up and removed the brain. The brain has no power once you reach to this. Once it's in balance, once that shit's flowing, it's no longer needed. You're tapped into yourself. You're into your knowing. You're going off of feeling, the portal of your heart. That's why the physical heart has so many fucking ventricles and so many pieces in it, so many ventricles in it. That was by design, not by mistake. That's why it has so many. That's why your heart has so many ventricles in it. All the pathways and the portals. Those burdens that you put on your heart through the processes of your life, of your process mind, or the processes that your ego accepted, that's what's clogging up your arteries. So in physical, remember, as you slow down, you have to come to an understanding on every level of everything being everything. That same pig, that same cow, that same chicken, that same duck, that same rabbit, that same deer, whatever animal it may be, that same animal is in tandem with the understanding of yourself. You're feeding upon fear. You're feeding upon the death. The adrenochrome within that animal that was produced at its death is what you feed upon. That's why you eat with your emotions. You eat based on the addiction. I love bacon. No. You love the fact that Wilbur went through that fucking slaughterhouse. So that strip of bacon that you just ate has all of the compost of that fear within one piece. That's why it releases and you need more of it. When you're sustained and imbalanced, you realize that you just need more water than anything. I don't need anything more than water throughout a day. I eat once to twice a day. Once to twice. I eat 1 to 2 times a day. But I'll drink water all day. Hell, the last 3 days I got back into making my smoothies. I had a smoothie. By the time I got to what I was doing, had my smoothie, had my water, probably had some fruit, had an apple or an orange or a mango, and I was good for the rest of the day. I was in clarity, I was in balance, I was moving, I was in my space that I needed to be in. Because I didn't need to survive off the adrenaline. I didn't need to survive off the fluid from something else. The sustained reality of something else. Because I grew into the balance So it just went through the dismissive avoidance, that cold detached, that prone to the addictions outside of the relationship. That's why you get in the relationships in that aspect of on that physical mundane. If you're not getting it from one space in the way that you want it, you'll go to somewhere easy. That's why you'll look at a dude that has the car, the jewels. He has certain aspects that are the lower intellectual, the strong black man figure has one, two, maybe three or four. They don't have all of the components of full balance, but they have enough. They have enough of the components of balance to sustain the attention to gain something. The same thing with the archetype, the strong black woman, putting yourself under that definition. You have enough components in sustain to gain the partnership. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Both of these aspects of yourself, when you're locked into your shit, is enough to subvert. It's enough to appease your ego. Because you know it becomes a false sense of it becomes a false sense of sustaining yourself or bringing yourself into a certain level. It becomes a false sense of sustain. Because now you're sitting there and you can sit there and say to yourself that you've done everything right. But to whose definition did you do everything right? Basing it on physical mundane mentality, what did you do right? Just like if you go to your job right now, if you went to your job, motherfuckers, for the example for your job, you can do everything right. But if you did not submit to a certain level in that space, if you're not at the level to where you can be used, that's basically what it is. You cannot be used at a certain point or can't be used in a certain element. You kick right out the door. So you based your validation, you based your entire existence on all of those certifications, all that shit you did for your job. And now that you're out of it, you're going to be in search for another place. But every time that you do this, you're now cutting yourself down to fit into a space. Because think about it, when you go to a job, this is where that falsified sense of longevity kicks in. You get to a job, you have your job, you've been there for 25 years, 26 years, or whatever. Then somebody you've been there for like 20, 30 fucking years at your fucking job. You never wanted to excel past a certain point. You were good being a worker. You didn't want to become a supervisor or a manager or whatever it may be, a higher level to sustain another part because you didn't want to start over. So you were sustaining your position in your worker. And then young buck comes into the job and has a plan to excel to the next level. Now this young buck then came in to sustain to the next level. What took you 30 years to build your sustainability and your seniority, this person in 4 years is now your supervisor. Because he came through, absorbed everything that you taught them, learned the way to make it more efficient, and went to the next level. Now they got to do cuts and layoffs. That person sustains their space because they were willing to go through the spirit to be corrupted or changed or shifted to gain their position. You aren't willing to do that. They're willing to do what it took to get to that space. Remember, there's no good and bad. It's only negative and positive. Does it serve you? Does it not serve you? Is it coming from my higher or my lower? Am I feeding my lower intent or my higher intentions? What side of the conflict am I on? Serving or not serving? So you look at that aspect and you look at your life right now, where you're at right now, that strong black man archetype, you got to live up to that until it's challenged. Man, I can't deal with the strong black man archetype at a certain point in time when you come into your higher levels of consciousness is actually toxic to you. It has to become toxic to you. It has to. The aspect of a strong black woman in those lower mundane levels has to become toxic to you because you're no longer a human. That archetype of a strong black woman is under the humanity and the morality. That strong black man is under the humanity and morality aspect. You've transcended beyond that. You're transcending and going to the next level. Because now you're at your heart. You're in a different portal. Now you can make two decisions when you're at your portal. Either you can be for the world or you can be for yourself. Either path is going to take you to the same point. That's that key. That's that secret to that. Because all this shit disappears once you get to a certain point. All this shit become redundant. All this shit it no longer exists. That's when you look at the Gnostic text in the book of Thomas, when Gnostic Jesus is standing there and he's looking at Jacob, and Jacob's like, why they keep walking forward? And the Gnostic Jesus looks back and says, even this is going to disappear. And they were going through that heart portal. They were going through the heart chakra. None of this shit exists as what it is. It's sealed in stasis. It's going to be exactly what it's going to be when you pass it. Look at the aspect and understand. You look at your mom's house. I can go to my mom's house right now. It is the exact same. I went to my mom's house last week. I went to my mom's house. Yeah, I've been to my mom's house recently. It's the exact same as it was a year ago, 2 years ago. My mom still has the memories of what I was before I left. So that reality is sustained in space. It's sustained in space stasis. It's what it is. It is what it is over there. You're evolving to another evolutionary point. You're what's evolving. The only reason that exists is because it has the remnants of what you used to be. You destroyed the human. You killed off the gods. In the retrospect of this space right here, we are the titans. We are the chaos beings. We are the great old ones. So we have to kill off the old gods or our kids. That whole aspect, when you look at the rise of the titans, that's us killing off our children. When you read the story of Kronos and he was eating his children, he was eat his sons. Every time they were born, he would go there and eat his sons. He was retaining his power and his energy. Everything that's been broken down at this level is retaining a certain energy. So it's feeding upon you because you're older than the energy of what it is itself. So you look at your job, just like your job is synonymous with school, everything goes against that same line. You go for something higher. Based upon that cipher, you must understand that space. That's where you get even higher. So if you're the same way you were in high school, you're the same way you were in elementary school, in middle school, there's an issue. You're not going to fit that paradigm of that space. You're the same way you were in middle school that you were in high school. No, you're the same way you were in middle school and high school. You're not going to pertain to that space. You can't absorb everything in that space because you have not taken you haven't learned the necessary lessons. That's why you got motherfuckers out here right now that are damn near 60, 70 years old still talking that same old rhetoric because they've chosen to sustain that space as that passage. They're happy there. They don't want to go past that point. They're good there. They're happy there. They get everything that they want. You have one or two decisions. Either get stuck on that same level trying to make them move the immovable force, or you be like, you know what? Nah, you have it. You good. Hey, old head, I listen to you. I respect you. That's why I have respect for the elders that are in the church. Still got respect for them. My grandmother give me kudos for that every time I have a conversation with her through channel. Because they're at a space that they've accepted where they're at, and they fully sustain in their space, and they're getting what they're getting. It's not for me to change them. It's not for me to say, but grandma, da da da. Because if I change them, this is how it works. This is how quantum works. That quantum thought works. Chili roast pistachio. Shit. This is how that works. In order for me to be where I'm at now, everything that I've been through, done, seen, encountered, observed must be in the space that it's in, or I would not exist on this timeline. Everything is in play as it needs to be in play. You just trying to change the script. For what? Everything is in play the way it's supposed to be in play. You just think you one of the actors. You wrote the script. You put the entire script together. You scripted this. There's multiple avenue points pointing to the information of our time, this timeline. From the Hermetica text that breaks down the going into the prisoners of becoming prisoners of war. Because we've been in a battle. You're in a battle the entire time. You're in a battle with your lower and your higher self. That's the battle that they're speaking of. Whenever you hear battle, great battle, this battle, this battle, this battle, that's the esoteric. You have to look at it as the esoteric, the battle. When you were in school, I don't know what they teach in school now, but when I was in school, I remember when I was taking English, and I remember my teacher would break down the 3 conflicts of man. Man versus himself, man versus his environment, and man versus, I think it was the other. I can't remember the three what's called. Yes. Man, but the main ones that always stuck out with me was man versus conflict. It was man versus conflict, which was another, man versus himself, and man versus nature. That catalyst is this story of the conflict of them with themselves at this level. It's just been slowed down so you can see it. Look at every movie that they put out where they make themselves the victor. There's always a battle. They don't have an end. We've seen the beginning, the middle, and the end. This is the middle point. This is that middle passage till we get to our end. We're playing out in the middle. We've seen our beginning. They gave you an aspect of the beginning of And then they all going to say, that's what I said earlier, slavery was a choice. Yes, it was. It had to be a choice on some point. Because on some level, it wasn't a choice. This is how you understand and start breaking down these keynotes and these keynotes and defeating shit. When you look at something like Black Lives Matter, how you defeat it, nigga, I am all, therefore I matter. Of course I matter. I am all. They give you subjective thoughts. So you sit there and say, when they say Black Lives Matter, you yell out Black Lives Matter, then they want to yell out all lives matter, then they want to let out blue lives matter. Now you stuck in a conflict. Which one do you want to go against? The conflict of you versus yourself is Black Lives Matter. You versus man versus self, man versus man versus nature. That's how it was. Man versus man is all lives matter. So now you're in a conflict between your life mattering and their life mattering. Then the natural accordance is you are of all. Everything is of essence of you. Therefore, you matter. Therefore, everything else must matter in the space that it matters. That's how you don't feed into it. We get stuck on feeding into things. Motherfuckers get stuck on feeding into shit. You're feeding it into a way showing, even if you don't, to truly not care about something is when it comes on TV, you can just walk past it. How many people can go outside right now? There was a car accident and just drive right by it. Even your slightest curiosity to what happened shows some form of cause that you care, not in the nature of caring and based on the humanity aspect, because we're going higher than that. You care because it's your curiosity to wonder what happened, what caused that effect that you just saw. Where did that energy come from? That's how you start understanding the distractions. The distraction is the cause and effect of your emotion. So once you understand the spell, you understand how to manipulate it. If I were to go outside with a megaphone right now, if I went to a church right now with a megaphone and say Trayvon Martin had to die, in order for his energy to live, they'll call the cops. They'll call the very white man that it says oppressing them, to bring me to justice for what I just said. They're not done with it. That's why they keep using it. They're not done with the things that they're using. So they can't move to the healthiest form of a relationship. The healthiest form of a relationship, which is number one on this one, the one, secure attachment, the only positive style. 50% of the population have this style. Don't seek validation within your relationship, securing yourself, securing your partner. Esoteric looking in, then we're going to build out. I am at my highest self in learning and growing in my knowing and standing on my square, free of the human thought process and the fact that I understand what human thought is at its level. I'm secure in myself. I do not seek validation for anything that I do in any relationship that I hold. I don't need anybody to tell me anything that I do not already know of myself. My validation of myself in reflection is just them reinforcing what I already validated. I stand in my shit. Therefore, I do not need that reinforces the security in myself. Therefore, I'm secure in my partner in their learning from me in retrospect from what need to be learned from me, and them secure. I'm secure in them learning everything that they are willing and open to learn from me. I am secure in my partner that they are secure in themselves to go upon making the decision and constantly renewing that agreement with me on any level that they're willing to do that. So that makes me devoid of jealousy. Because if at any point they go somewhere and they can get something easier based on what they're used to, based on survival, their lower self, go ahead and do it. That does not, therefore, there's no tether to lock me in like, man, but they got this and they got this. Man, she got that ass though, man. You gotta get that. Yeah, she got the fuck they gotta do with me. Man, you better stay with him. Just like when you look at any fucking hood movie, any BET or any classic black hood movie, one movie in particular, what was the name of that shit? In the movie, basically, she was like, she met the plug. The plug's girl, Plug Love. It was Plug Love. This is the name of this movie. Basically, in the movie, they were like, one of the chicks said, would you rather stay with a man that gives you everything and has pussy on the side, or get with a man who loves you, gives you everything that you need in love, but can't provide you anything in the physical? If you choose the lower, that's where your jealousy breeds. So if you're in that mindset and if you're moving off of your trauma, I don't care how high you get in your life in the sustain for yourself. The challenge that's going to come to you 9 times out of 10, but the challenge is going to be based on something knocking you off your physical. Whatever you pride yourself in the most is what's going to be challenged. Whatever you pride yourself in the most, based on your ego, your identity, is what's going to be challenged the most. Lock your ass straight the fuck down. That's why my boys get locked down all the fucking time. Because you're stuck in a cipher, in a space based on the trauma. Because without the trauma, without that hit, you don't know what it is without that heron. It's that boy. This ain't that bitch. This that boy, Ray. You stuck on that. You stuck on it. You need that. But when something comes into the space that is devoid of what you're used to, or you believe envision is devoid of what you're used to, but it's presenting things to you in a way. This is the way pure energy works when you're shit. This is the way pure energy works. Pure energy, when it is coming down burns everything. When your Christ energy, that's what they talk when the Christ energy rises. When Christ comes, it's gonna burn everything, gonna be on fire. That's your Kundalini energy rising up, burning away and laying waste to everything that is no longer pure to you, to your true heart. So you got to be true of heart. Your Kundalini energy just keeps stopping right here. It's going through and it's taking its time. You getting, and then your mouth get hot. Then you getting upset. Then you spouting off at the mouth. Or when you see shit, you get mad, angry. Then you still spouting off at the mouth because your energy isn't rising fully. It's coming out. In the story of Kali, when it was explaining how Kali was birthed, whose insecti, it came out of the third eye, it came out of the forehead of the third eye. The energy reached to a point, but due to it not being fully seeing or fully competent of what it was seeing, that was the point that it decided to come out at. So that's where you got the Kali, the destroyer. So she destroys everything she sees below her. That's how that energy, that's how you look at the maintainer that energy. When we're looking at the sleeping Shiva, or you look at the sleeping Shiva, which is the same story as the Baphomet, he's sitting on his earth doing what I understand everything. That's why Baphomet has a smirk. He has a knowing. I've accomplished I've mastered everything of my earthly self. And I'm just sitting here waiting for the next level. I'm enlightened. I'm tapped in. I'm just waiting for the next phase. All I know, all I need to do in my level of my just being here is just to be. If I truly think I need something or I truly desire something, I can create it. Because he's sitting on that throne waiting for the next level. All you got to do is wait it out. Once you get to a certain point, you have no want or need. You're void of wanting and needing. I'm at a point where I'm devoid of that aspect of saving anybody. That's why when I do when I do my consultations, mine is on visualizing going to the next level. Mine is on doing that root chakra work. Mine is on doing that shadow work. Mine is on teaching you and taking you to that level of becoming equal. So when we have a conversation based on you being opened up to the next level, when we have a conversation, you may see something on a path that resonated with you. You saw a God, you saw a goddess, you saw an energy, you saw something when you were going through your literature, you were reading through the stuff that I taught you, that I'm teaching. When you're reading it, you have your own, you got your own tidbit. Well, this is what I got from it. Oh shit, for real? I never saw it that way. Because it's different perspectives. Two different parts of the universe having a conversation. But you gotta be in balance to be, you gotta be in balance to have this type of, be at this level, have this type of conversation. You gotta truly be at balance and at one and in tune with yourself and truly not giving a fuck what other motherfuckers say to say, nigga, fuck Black Lives Matter. You gotta truly be in tune and not in that emotional burden on your heart. What will my mother think? I can go back. My mother said, always stand up for what the fuck I believe in. I can go back. My pops and my father always told me to stand up for what I believe in. My grandmother, everybody that was dear to me that's either transitioned or still on this plane, all told me the same exact thing in their own words. So when I go back there or think about why I'm doing what the fuck I do or how I say something, I can go back and be like, even if they are the ones who challenge me or used to challenge me, I can walk up and be like, you told me to stand up for what I believe in. You told me to have all my shit in order, so when someone challenges me, I can always stand on my truth. That's the balance when you go into a relationship and you're balanced with yourself in that true heart of yourself. When you moving on your heart, your true mind, when you moving in that balance of your heart, it don't matter what somebody says, you always have clarity to back up what you're saying. You always can give the clarity that is needed in any conversation to bring it into your favor because it serves your purpose. Because it's challenging you to teach you to take you to the next level. That is that level that the preacher ain't gonna tell you. How Kanye West say to that song? She said, "Don't preach." Something that the pastor don't preach. Whatever you said in that line, that's that aspect that you tapping into yourself when you go into your higher self. There's going to be things at that lower level that is not going to success at that lower level because it's too potent to be down there. This whole aspect of looking at everything going on around us, up and down and around us right now, the reason that it's happening and vibrating at the level that it's at and it's phasing, and it makes you feel smothered, like you would tighten that containment because that's no longer your space. That's no longer there for you. You got to put in work to get that in order around you as you rise. It's time to let go of this. It's time to let go of that. I don't need this anymore. It's time to let go of this. I don't need this. Time to let go of this. That's the mindset that you got to put yourself in as you're going forward. It's cute to be able to yell off the laws of Tahuti. It's cute to spout off all the stuff you know about more science. It's cute to lay off passages out of certain books. It's cute to regurgitate information. It's cute. At a certain point in time, somebody need the information. They ain't willing to put the work in for themselves. They'll go to that space. But then they get stuck. That's how you get locked in that cipher because you're following somebody. My main thing is study all, follow none. There's things. So when you get stuck in an aspect like this based on what you know, something as simple as the mundane rudimentary of cheating. Bobby Hemmett, I actually went back and watched it. It was brought to my attention. And he said the thing about cheating, and he said why cheating fell into play. You got to be at a certain level to catch the context of what that means. You got to be devoid of emotion. You have to be in control of your emotions, your emotions have to be open in the aspect to take in this higher knowledge, because you're going to read some shit that can hurt a human. That's going to hurt a mortal's feelings. Just like when you look at the aspect of like the street life in the underworld, that shit'll hurt a civilian's feelings. Motherfucker that ain't never been there, that'll hurt that motherfucker's feelings. Motherfucker that ain't never been to war or any type of war, that's going to hurt their feelings if they get exposed to that because they haven't been trained for that. They haven't been initiated into that point. That's not their initiation point. So in order for them to go through that, they got to go through the trial of fire of that space. And that butterfly effect, that spiral effect, that keep bringing you back to that same trial until you go through it. When I break down, my favorite exercises that I teach is the visualization of choppy waters. I tell the person to lay down, find a quiet space, lay down. I do a lot of these via Skype. So don't ever worry, I ain't got to come to you. We can do that via Skype. You lay down, you visualize your thoughts, all of your thoughts at that point in time. This is how you start breaking it down. You visualize all of your thoughts at that moment in time falling out of you, pouring out of you as water. And then you visualize stilling those very thoughts. That's the choppy water part. Because most of your thoughts at a point in time are very choppy because you did. That's why you had the thought. That's why you had the point that you had. The point that the shit is choppy. You have to visualize all of your thoughts and stilling all of your thoughts as they're all around you, spilled out around you. And then you have to put yourself into the aspect of, this is when I start going off the law of mentalism. The mind is all and everything is mental. And I repeat this over and over again. I have them repeat this same thing while still in visualization in that trance. I like the candle, get the whole thing. It's a whole party. And you're visualizing you're visualizing your thoughts, and you're calming your thoughts because you're removing them from you. What does this thought connect to? And throughout the entire process, we're taking the notes of what they're bringing up, what they're saying, similar to the mirror ritual, what they're saying. And then the next process, I always tell them to go float. If you can't get to a float tank, get a tub, fill it with some warm water. This is the reinforcing of what you just did. This is what the float is for. So you get a tub, you fill it with some Epsom salt, some essential oils. You pick the oils, or we choose the oils based on the thoughts. You lay there and you do the same process while you're laying in the water. You're going back to your birth. Every process that you go through that they understand when they talk about water, that is your process of birth. When you look at the story of Revelations in the Bible and they talk about fire, he's coming back in fire. That is the final spoke of your Kundalini energy rising as the Christ rises. Everything is going to burn that is not pure to your heart. Everything that you hold in your heart is going to burn away. It doesn't have a purpose. But you can't get to the point of letting that fire come down if you're not willing to release the burdens that are on your heart. So you got to acknowledge them first before they can get burned away. That's why when everybody says this, just let it go, never forget, let it go. Gotta forget about it. Nah, don't forget about it. Don't let it go. In the aspect that until you understand it, you can't let it go. Because letting go of something that you don't understand, it's like folding up a paper airplane and throwing that bitch. Because eventually you're going to walk up somewhere through your journey and you're going to find that paper airplane open. Oh, shit. That's why I didn't like that. 1 second. The one analogy that I always like to use is you can be that 35-year-old kid in the basement of your parents' house, or you can be the 30-year-old man, 40-year-old man in the attic. It doesn't matter what space you choose to dwell in. It doesn't matter what space you choose to dwell in. When it's not true to your natural higher self. If you put yourself into a position of you build your space, but your space is built upon insecurities, ununderstood emotions, jealousy, insecurities, whatever it may be on that human level, that space must be maintained, and you can't invite nothing into that space unless it's accepting and reflection of those things. That's why some people, whenever they get into when they have their space, everything that they put into their space are remnants of their old self. Even when they decide to switch stuff over in their old space, they just put the old stuff that they had, they just tuck it away. But eventually, all of that waits there when it's time to truly leave from that space or actually set that space in atonement for their thoughts in their mind, they can't do it. They'll talk about doing it. They'll pick at it a little bit, but they won't actually get deeper into it. And then they make a decision. I'm actually happy with this. Whether it's true to me or not, if a motherfucker says they're happy where they're at, where they're doing some shit, you can't change them. You can lay all the information you want on the table. You can yell to you can yell, hold your breath till you blue in the face, trying to make them change into an environment that is only susceptible to you. And then all you'll be doing is looking for arguments to revalidate yourself. I don't need validation from anyone. I don't need no one can come to me and be like, what are your credentials? Because I'm at the point where I can give you all the books. I can cite you all the books that I've read. I can cite you all the literature that I've came across. But at a certain point in time, after gaining all this information and that knowledge, that shit is not in a book anymore. That shit's coming divine from the channel, from the source. People that have been following me and watching me on the lectures for a while, you can tell a lecture that's based upon what I'm saying, okay, cool, we're going to reflect upon this book. I give you the book, I give you the site, I give you the information. This is where I got this from. And then it comes to that point where even I didn't stop reading from that. This is one of those lectures where this is divine based off of experience. And that's the main thought process when you're coming into your highest self. It's coming based off of experience. Because when you realize that, this is the aspect of it. When you realize that at one point in time, you need to understand the water. You need to understand the waves. You need to understand the current, how the current works, how the water and the current come together. At a certain point in time, you realize that you're the ocean. You realize that you are that body of work. So as you become that body of work, you now understand you can manipulate how the current moves. You manipulate the waves. You set the tone of how wet that water is, how deep that water is. If it's choppy and dangerous for some to get through, and how much they got to work to get to it. That's the aspect of coming into your higher self when you're creating. You can get to this information, and you can go to the ocean, and you can say, Yin and Yang, go give her a basket of gifts, and she's going to give you something back. But now you're in servitude because now you got to keep repeating that same motion to get what you're getting. That's the aspect of this level right here. Repeating the same aspect of what you're getting. Calamity, pandemic comes out. We don't give y'all a stimulus package. We don't give you this money, but you got to spend it back with us, and we're going to create the cycle all over again. But at no point in time during your reset did you learn anything. What are you learning as you're going to the next level? While you're going through what you're going through in your days in your life, what the fuck are you learning? For every day that you don't learn is the day that you die. It's a day of waste. For every day that you do not take an aspect to learn something, even if it don't matter what grand scale it is, it can be something small about yourself. But that's how you celebrate. That comes to that part of that healthy relationship with yourself. You're validating those breakthroughs you're having to yourself. Once you can validate that breakthrough that you had, then you can mirror it or share it. But it's not sharing in order to get someone's attention or someone's validation. They're reinforcing something you already know. That's when it comes to the terms of magic and setting your intentions. When you sit here and tell yourself that you need someone outside of you to give you, one time before my parting from my place of employment at a point in time. One of the servers, she walked into me. She was an older black woman. She asked me about a reversing candle and how to do the reverse candle. Broke down, gave her the information. She was like, yeah. See, I'm learning something new every day. I was like, yeah. I didn't ask why. Didn't care why. I didn't care why she wanted to do it. I didn't ask why she wanted to do it. I gave her the disclaimer. All I did was gave her the disclaimer. That intention, you must set the intention and do the works to make sure that it goes into play. Before that, probably a couple months before that, somebody broke it, was like, this dude crazy. He did this right here with my underwear, did some shit like this and buried my shit. And now I don't know what to do. Now I got to find somebody else to help get. You're going to get to that point of not wanting to save motherfuckers. I sat there and said, I was like, the fuck you asking me for? I'm not going to invoke any of my energy and my power to help you with your issue. Because that's what you do when you conduct magic, when you conduct these rituals on a lower level, you're putting your energy into it. That's why when you go into the astral realm, and C. Freemanel broke that down, there's certain points in the astral realm where you can't get to because you ain't big enough to get there. Your britches ain't big enough to stand up there. It's like taking the aspect like you standing on the porch watching motherfuckers ride around on the bikes or do whatever they doing, they selling, do whatever they doing on the block. You ain't big enough to go out there because you don't have the knowledge of that space. So in order to gain the knowledge of the experience of that space, you gotta be open to it. You gotta be open to the negative and the positive. You gotta be open to the causes and the effects, whether indirectly caused by you, whether directly caused by you or indirectly caused by you. Just you stepping in, just us being in this space is shifting shit. Just us sitting in this space is shifting things. What shifts, that's the breakthrough that you get to celebrate for yourself. I can say the shit that shifts me. I say that all the time throughout the lectures. I say what shifts, what's happened in my life in the current event. That's the personalized part. That's the spiritual part. Becoming the spirituality, but the personalized part. So I'll sit there and be like, damn, this shit happened to me. This happened to me. I can explain it now. I understand this now. And some of the stuff that I'll explain is like 10, 20 years old. But now now I can put an interpretation because I can apply the knowledge into that space. And I can laugh at it. The clueless thing about the ability, once you get to a certain point, you can laugh at certain shit. I can laugh about every mishap that I've been through because I know how to manipulate the space. Therefore, if I come into a space, if I come into an environment where I am challenged, I'm confident and competent in my abilities to put it into my favor. That's a challenge in itself. One of the biggest challenges for me was everybody got mad at Lil Wayne when he said that. I never experienced racism. I never experienced racism within the containment of myself. I never experienced a moment where, based on the aspect, I never experienced racism in an aspect that stopped me from doing something. I never experienced racism or an event that stopped or hindered me from doing something. If anything, it made me stronger. It took me to a point where I was like, I got to submerge myself into that shit. My hatred was my lack of understanding. So I submerged myself into my hatred, or that emotion of hatred and fear, in order to submit, I submitted to the attributes of that hatred and that fear of something in order to understand it, to become it, to go through it. That's the only way you get through shit. You must submerge yourself into what it is. Or the other way. But the true way of that many paths is to submerge yourself into it, to become it. Or else it's something that your ego can hide in. So when I Godico Alchemist, that acronym stands for Generator, Operator, and Destroyer. I'm the generator, the operator. I serve as a conduit for generating, operating, and destroying the mysticism and the spookism of the occult into understanding the hidden culture is the mind. And now I create through many platforms and many ways as an alchemist. I create using my divine magic of understanding the occult to destroy, to operate, and generate. Because you have to destroy something in order to rebuild. Motherfuckers keep. That's like, there was a funny meme that I saw the other day, and then we're going to get into the question and answer period. There was a funny meme that I saw the other day that was like, the United States is falling apart. It's like it was built on an ancient, it was like it was built on an ancient Indian burial ground. It was funny to me because I was like, technically that's what it is. When you build something in a certain space, you must maintain that. It blows my mind when people look at certain shit, when they look at why America is the way it is, and why it seems so foreign and so savage. The way that this was built, the way that this level was built, it has to maintain that. It has to maintain fear. It has to maintain fear, maintain corruption, maintain theft, maintain it. How legal, how they put it together, they must maintain these pillars to keep this space. But as you break away from not needing that, this shit it goes into stasis. It's going into stasis right now. This is becoming that step for you to step forward. Shit is going into stasis right now because you're stepping forward to something else. But like, as I said before, I took over the first half of the damn comments in the live chat because I put up for all booking and consultations. For all booking, consultation, and services, email me at setcallernesus@gmail.com or call my business line is 910. I love that number because all the sevens. 777-7708. I just love the way that number feels. Drop call my line, text, call, text. If you have a question about some information, about a book, anything, call or hit that line on that. If you're interested in booking for lectures, because I will start the live lectures soon, consultations, and all the other services, send me an email. I'll send you the list of my services, send you the price list. When I send the price list, I send a breakdown of how long each one is, and how each service breaks down in the weeks, days, how long it lasts. Hit the line, do the same thing. As always, show some support via, in all payments, go through my Cash App. It's Cash App Lucifer Sambi. Because, show some support via my Cash App, because in order for me to continue to create, I need that space. And I'm taking a seat in a way that this is a divine purpose. And I'm doing it at all costs. So like, that's the thing about my Cash App. Also, you can tune in to tap out with the Guy Hour podcast. New episodes every Tuesday. This week's episode was Echoes, Voices of Trauma or Intuition. And of course, I did the Dropout series. But this is that question and answer period. Any questions, any thoughts, anything that was like stemming up, anything you want me to go back over? Don't be shy. Drop the question because somebody else might actually wanted to ask that question, and you, the conduit, that's gonna help them get their answer. As I sit here and eat my as I said earlier in the lecture, I've been eating candy all damn day because of my grandmother and my recent ancestors are all in the way, and eating their favorite candies is appeasement to them. But yeah, it's question answer period. You got a question, answer. You got a question, something, idea about a book, thought. You want to drop it in the comments, and we can get that knocked out. But while y'all formulating those, but I also wanted to lay out the fluids that are being created in this space. That adrenochrome, that fear base, that's built and created. We can't stop something until we understand the ingredients of what it is. You can't break chains until you understand the alchemical tethers and the bonds and what that process that makes it. Fear is no different. The byproduct of fear is no different. The byproduct of hatred is no different. I can't at no point in my rise, in me doing my thing and moving how I move, I can't go to the next space without understanding the ingredients and the contents of the space before that. What made me this and what made me that? Because if I don't, that's when you start operating within the extremes on one side or the other. Either you're in the positive side of the extreme or the negative side of the extreme, whichever side serves you based on your duality in your correspondence to yourself. So that's when you hear a lot of these, you hear a lot of lectures, it's always based upon conflict. It's almost based upon some type of turmoil. Because you get to a certain point when you get into knowledge, when you start getting into this, you get to a certain point where you're either advancing or you are feeding that space. At every level, you're living along. When it comes to a lot of these spaces, you're living long enough to become the hero. You're living long enough. You're dying as the hero, or you got to become the villain. Because you got to go back to being the villain in every level. That's why you have a lot of people in a lot of these spaces. They're stuck in the archetype of being the leader, being the voice of the Black people, being the voice, being the leader of Black people, being the voice, the unified voice of Black people. We ain't trying to be people anymore. I'm not trying to be a person anymore. I've been there. I've done the human shit. I've done everything possibly human that I can do. in the aspects of what I needed to do. So the next level for me is to sustain and maintain this realm that I've created and I'm creating while setting an atonement for the next level. Because now everything that I create is in direct essence to where I'm going. You're going to get to that point to where everything you're creating, everything you're sustaining is a catalyst or a conduit or reflection rather of where you're going. I'm not basing my life off of survival. I'm not basing myself off simple pleasure. I'm not basing myself off of simple power. I'm not basing myself off of what's on my heart. I'm not basing myself off what I speak. I'm not basing myself off what I see, what I channel. I'm sustaining all of that. That's that opening. When you get to that certain level of balance to yourself, you're basically, damn, I ain't got to do shit else. All I got to do is answer questions. And if the initiate is worthy, I'll answer the question. And I don't have to answer the question to appease them. I'm answering the question. And if they're worthy, they'll get the answer. That's the key. You have to be able to set yourself down. And when you ask the question, when you get the answer, you must be worthy of receiving that answer. That's that teacher, student. The teacher disappears when the student appears. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the student is ready, the teacher disappears. That's the aspect of saying fake it until you make it. I don't even like that. How about you study until you can create it? That's that alchemy. Taking what you have in front of you is your starting point. This is your starting point. From here, this is where you start. Your table of contents, everything that was laying on the cutting, that you thought was laying on the cutting room floor, that's in your table of contents, that is all you need to study in order to understand where you're at now. Once you're able to apply what you have gathered at this point, once you're able to cleanly, in clarity, and in true of heart, and in balance of mind, and in balance of your emotions, apply it to what you have came up through, that's when you can stand to create anything that you want. That's when the law of mentalism makes sense. That's when the law of concordance makes sense. That's when the law of vibration makes sense. That's when the laws start to vibrate. That's when the laws start to speak through you. As I said in Echoes when I did in this week's podcast, that's when that voice, you have to become in tune. I forgot where I got that quote from. But you have to be in tune to make, you're not listening to that voice that's inside of you. You become that voice that's inside of you. And that voice speaks through all of the lines of every other voice that you heard. That voice is the strength between all of those other voices that come. Therefore, if someone says something to you, your voice is strong enough to speak in understanding and speak light to defeat it. You have to go into the dark first. You want to go play around in the light all day and sustain light, that's nice. You sustaining someone else's light. You sustaining another deity's power. You're allowing yourself to be fed upon. Me, I ain't about being fed upon. I willingly feed. That's balance. I can willingly feed and I can willingly starve as I see fit, as I see as is needed. That way I'm not overfeeding. I'm not enabling. I'm not getting in the way of nobody's lesson or karma. I'm not getting in the way of nobody's anything. You got to learn it. You got to let this shit absorb to you. In the next coming weeks, we're going to get into the deities and the aspect of understanding the serving aspect of the deities, to the aspect of the sum of all what a deity is sustained point and the synonymous links of it. That's going to be next week's lecture. But yeah, those are the main things. I'm putting together the group chat now and a lot of other things. Occult alchemy, the clothing and the merchandise and all the other products, that's in the works. You got a couple more tidbits on that. But the service list is available. I will go over the service list with you through the phone call, through the email, building that dialogue to see if that's for you. If it ain't for you, cool. If it is, we can go further. That's all this basically boils down to is if you're ready for it, the first step is you came here. If you're ready for it, the first step is that you came here. The first step is that you came in line, you came into alignment. That's how you treat, this is how knowledge streams and hits you. You just being at that point at that particular time to gain that information, that is your initiation. Or that is the reflection of your previous initiation. Yeah. No. One of those. Not really as big. But as always, all the information is up there in the, after I edit the video, all the information to be in the description bar. I might do the Papa Lucy after hour show. My Papa Lucy after hour show is via my Facebook. I might stream it to both Instagram and Facebook. Might do both, but I usually do like a after hours spot. It's like a closed little thing for like small groups on that. But other than that, y'all just keep being you. You already in alignment. You where you need to be at. What you gonna do with it? That's the main point. You already where you need to be at. You ain't got to worry about something happening or, well, if I get to this point, you're already where you're at where you need to be at. What are you going to do now that you're here? That's the aspect of you going forward. That's how you break survival. That's how you break the mundane pleasure. That's how you get to your heart. But yeah, I love you all. We love us. We the best. We the original. I appreciate all the new faces. Subscribe, share. Let the knowledge do what it's supposed to do. Break down and burn down shit. Yeah.